trip to Colorado Springs tomorrow night. Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, Jon and Jim, we're back. Hope you had a good, long weekend, probably enjoyable, probably stayed away from work, unless you're the LA Dodgers, who stayed busy, as Jim told you, and the Padres continue to just go about business as usual, which is do absolutely nothing, because we are just days away from the start of spring training. We got an email today from the Padres. Hey, the trucks are packed. They're going to Peoria on Thursday.
Oh, must be nice.
It's truck day. We got baseballs in the truck, and we have bats. Oh. But do you have players? Do you have players in the truck?
That's
what we want to know.
To be determined right there.
All right, so we want to hear from Padres fans today. We took a ton of calls Friday when the Roki news was official, and the Dodgers just keep doubling and tripling down. So, I guess the start of the show is here, Jim, and some of it is we're not fully being serious, but I think it's at least something to entertain. 877-767-4766 if you want to call us. Or text us 70470. Start it with team. I mean, is this bad baseball that they're doing here? $375 million payroll. $70 million more than any other team. They've completely reloaded. They were already loaded. They had Ohtani last year, and Yamamoto, and now Sasaki, and Scott, and Yates, and it's the best bullpen and rotation. And why do we even play? Why even play? Why pack the truck? Why are we going to Peoria?
Yeah. Why is the truck being packed? What is it, tomorrow?
It's Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. Okay.
I mean, is this thing over before it begins? $375 million payroll.
I mean, potentially could be. It felt like it was over last year when they signed Ohtani, right? Now, they did go through a season where they weren't as dominant. They did have their ups and downs. And at one point, the division was kind of up for grabs.
Sure.
They had a lot of injuries, and the rotation wasn't as strong down the stretch, and they only won 98 games. But they, for their standard, winning 100-plus games for how many consecutive years? Take away the COVID year.
In full seasons, it was 5 in a row, maybe 6 in a row.
So from a regular season standpoint, it was considered a down year because they didn't run away with the division like they have every single year except for, I guess, 2021 when it was a neck-and-neck race with the Giants.
Yeah, they lost the division.
But they even then won 106 games, right? So coming into this season now, nothing's changed. They are still the prohibited favorites in baseball to win the World Series. I would love to see right now Vegas's odds for their win total. It's got to be a record, right? I wonder what their record is
for the win total
to start a year in Vegas for a team's win total.
Because this is going to be higher than that. If it was 105.5, this is going to be 106.5.
Maybe more, maybe higher.
I mean, is that even realistic? But you're right. I mean, this team is such a heavy favorite heading into a season. I saw there was an ESPN article about if they land Sasaki, here are the World Series odds. And it said the Dodgers, Padres, Blue Jays. Consider this. The Dodgers have a 20-time better chance of winning the World Series than the Padres.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's about a 30% chance, according to ESPN, that the Dodgers win the World Series. I get it. We haven't even started the season. That doesn't mean they're winning the World Series. And the Padres have something like a 1 or 2% chance of winning the World Series. Here we are. The season hasn't even started. And the Dodgers are 20 times more likely. And again, this is why we love sports. Things can change. Mm-hmm. But they're 20 times more likely, roughly, to win the World Series. I mean, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, forget about Sasaki for a second. You got a 1-2 left-right punch in the back of the bullpen with this unbelievable left-hand reliever, unbelievable right-hand reliever. Their bullpen's already good. Look what they did in bullpen days.
Yeah, and what Tanner Scott did against Ohtani in the postseason.
He's not going to do that this year in the postseason.
No, they had him on their side now. And I think Tanner Scott, of all the moves they made this offseason with Sasaki and Teoscar Hernandez and Blake Snell and Kirby Yates, and Hai-Sung Kim, and bringing back Tommy Edman.
Yep.
Tanner Scott could be one of the sneaky, huge signings for them because one of their biggest issues last year was the back in their bullpen. And now you got Trinan, Yates, and Scott back there. What? It's ridiculous. And, of course, they are going to be the favorites, as they should be. They have one of the most complete teams in all of baseball. And that is the number one topic right now. Are the Dodgers ruining baseball? And I see a lot of pundits and analysts and writers talking about, well, every team could do this if this and that and this and that. And one of the side note, while I was in the airport on Saturday morning after the Sasaki signing, one of the tweets that I saw regarding the Sasaki signing that blew me away, and you'll know what I'm talking about, came from Buster Olney.
I was like, because Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers, he like set the stage for this. Like, wait, what?
It was the dumbest tweet
I hate when people
I've ever seen.
that has no correlation. Jackie Robinson has nothing to do with Roki Sasaki's decision.
But the reason why he signed with the Dodgers was because of the history with the Dodgers and Jackie Robinson.
And then people were quote tweeting this, Brian, and being like, now I know why he didn't go to the Royals.
Yeah, he didn't go to the Royals
because have Jackie Robinson.
They didn't have Jackie Robinson. Like, what
are we talking about?
Anyway, that was just like a ridiculous side note, just like panhandling from a media member that, I'm sure loves this, because what the Dodgers are now going to do is they're going to break that wall between baseball and the national media. And that's what I've been talking. I'm not going to praise the Dodgers here, but one of the problems with baseball is that they can't break that national media wall, where on all of the shows on ESPN, FS1, baseball's never talked about. But now, because of the Dodgers, you're going to be talking about them on national television because of how loaded they are, star power they are. They can break a win total, yada, yada, yada.
Let's hear from Alden Gonzalez on this very topic, all right? Alden Gonzalez, ESPN. We're talking about this. Again, some of it is like facetious or maybe rhetorical. But let's hear Alden Gonzalez answer this. Are the Dodgers ruining baseball?
It's what every team, every fan base would want from their team. Like, and you can't do anything but give them credit. They're taking all that money and they're reinvesting it. And like, the luxury tax threshold used to be something that in some ways they sort of feared. And now it seems as if they could care less about it, because as you said, AJ, I mean, look, they had some very favorable projections for what Shohei Ohtani could mean from them from a business standpoint heading into 2024. It's a large reason why they wanted him. That's no secret. He blew away every single financial projection that they could have ever fathomed. Like, just him going from the Angels to the Dodgers made such a huge difference. Their footprint in Japan is so much bigger than they would have ever imagined. I mean, I'm at Dodger Stadium a lot during the year. Like, every day there are Japanese tour groups that go through that stadium. Just tourism in general to Los Angeles has changed dramatically because of Shohei Ohtani. And now, like, they've gotten to a point where, and I understand frustration from other fan bases, and I even kind of get people wondering, is this fair what they're doing? Because they've almost like monopolized the industry. Like, I remember when Andrew Friedman and that front office group first got there, one thing they talked about a lot was that they wanted to make the Dodgers and LA in general a destination for free agents. And it took some years to get there. But they're at a point now where, I mean, you can't beat the weather throughout the summer, playing in front of packed stadiums, winning every single year. They have more resources than anybody. They have a better track record than anybody of making guys better. So it's like, it's almost as if every free agent is willing to do whatever it takes to be a Dodger right now. And I think the only thing working against them is that they only have a certain amount of roster spots. This is just where they're at right now in their trajectory. Everybody wants to be a Dodger. So, and they're taking full advantage of it because they're willing to spend.
All right. So let me just say this idea that, well, they reinvest their money. Every team could do this, but that's like saying that everyone could compete with like Amazon, or every tech company could compete with Google. That's not true. The Pittsburgh reinvesting their money isn't going to bring them a $375 million payroll. Same thing in San Diego. Like, they're able to do some things that other teams can't do. That's fine. So maybe they go 10% above other teams. Jim, right now they're $70 million. That's like 25% more than any other team. Not like the average or the San Diego Padres or the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Philadelphia Phillies are 305 in payroll. The Dodgers are 375. The only other team at 300 are the New York Yankees. Like, they're blowing by baseball in terms of spending prowess, and it is tied to winning. It doesn't mean they're going to win a World Series. I'm not saying that. They're not going to win the World Series each of the next 10 years, I don't think. But spending $375 when someone else spends $75 is honestly a dumb business model. They're all in the same league. I get it. It's capitalism. If you have it, spend it. But it is a bad business model, and it's a reason why baseball's in this spot. NFL isn't, NBA isn't, NHL isn't, right? If nothing else, they're heading down a very slippery slope. There's no way this can be sold as good for the entire sport. Maybe it's good for Dodger fans. It probably is. It's a great time to be a fan of the LA Dodgers. But is it a great time to be a fan of the other 29 teams?
They have a total of $1.375 billion in deferrals.
What does that even mean? How do you even explain that?
Like, what this will do to the game is I am certain that there will be a lockout in 2027
I think it's 2 years.
or 2027, right?
Yeah, I think it's 2 seasons.
2027. How can there not be? Like, how can there not be a lockout? Tell me why. Tell me how there wouldn't be a lockout.
So, the owners locking out the players as opposed to the players striking. Would you say it would come from the owners first, or would it come from the players first in the next CBA dispute?
I don't know exactly all the details, but I just think that there are going to be some owners, and I hope there are, and I hope they have a spine that say, look, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be changed, right? Like, we have 90% of the league dealing on a different playing field than the other 3 teams or whatever. Like, the Dodgers are in a their own universe because of their TV revenue money, and no other team can operate like them because of that. And so there has to be some type of revenue sharing throughout baseball to give these teams some money so they can go and spend. Now, I will say this. Even if they didn't get any money, shame on the owners that aren't the Dodgers in baseball. You got the Cubs owner over the weekend telling fans, we just want to break even. We got the Seidler bros here in San Diego that are completely MIA and have decided to not spend a penny this offseason. You got Dick Monfort of the Colorado Rockies, crying broke all the time and blaming Peter Seidler a couple years ago for actually investing to the on-field product and investing, for a team and a fan base that it just so desperately wants to win. Like, while the Dodgers, they're annoying because they are spending all this money, I can't help but sit here and also put a lot of blame on the other owners for not spending money and for keeping that money and putting it in their pockets.
And also, like, is there some of us, again, we're not saying it like so seriously, like, stop the game, this isn't fair. Are we being hypocritical because the Padres did this 3 years ago? I mean, the Padres were serious spenders and times were good here. There may have been a year where they actually outspent the Dodgers.
They were 3rd in payroll.
So, like, things were good, and I was all for it. When they were spending like that, I was all for it. Now they're not spending like that. I see the way the Dodgers are spending. We're like, I stopped the sport. It's not fair. So I recognize the, like, hypocrisy in that statement. But if the Dodgers continue to run away from the rest of the sport, like, this can't be good for the stability of the sport long term.
And before we get to break, I see in the chat Leah saying, Jim, they can't spend that amount of money. Why can't they? If you got the Cubs owner, saying we just want to break even, then here's what you got to do. If you're going to tell the fans that you just want to break even, and if you're the Pirates and you're going to be 27th in payroll for the last 15 years, guess what you need to do? You need to open up your books because no one's buying it. And then when people go on Google and look at your net worth and see a B by your net worth, guess what? Nobody cares about how much you break even or whatever. The main thing should be every single time, what can I do if you're an owner to make sure I put the best team on the field possible? And if it's not that number one priority as an owner, you need to sell the team.
Well, we have to ask ourselves, is it the priority right now of the Seidler brothers? And we'll get into that on the other side. Are the Seidler brothers being used against the Padres in free agent pursuits? Plus, Jesse Rogers, ESPN, his thoughts on Roki going to LA. And are the Dodgers ruining the sport right now or not? Jesse Rogers from ESPN will join us at 2:30. We have great giveaways today as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Jesse Rogers is going to join us in 10 minutes. Great voice on baseball from ESPN, baseball reporter, colleague of Jeff Pastins. He'll join us coming up in 10 minutes. We have Aztec basketball tickets for January 28th against San Jose State to give away. We have a gift card to Morton's, by the way, Morton's Steakhouse for San Diego Restaurant Week. We'll give away here today as well. We have everything, Jim.
The freaking lead.
We have a lot. We got great giveaways. We have Cynthia Freeland, by the way, recapping divisional weekend, looking ahead to championship weekend as well.
I love Morton's. I still remember that time Steve took us there. You didn't go.
And by we, he didn't take me, but I'm a vegan.
I didn't go either.
It's because you were gone. That was when you were across the street. Because it was me, Rich, and Ernie.
Yeah, sorry, we don't take the competition.
Got to go to Morton's on Rich and Hartman's tab.
All right, real quick here, because Jesse Rogers is joining us in 8 minutes. So you tweeted this over the weekend. I read the article. It was in The Athletic. I thought I put the tweet in. This was about how the Dodgers essentially used the Padres' ownership instability against them in their pursuit of Roki Sasaki. You also said this past week that if ownership becomes an issue in their ability to land or lure or spend, sell the team. Okay, so you can defend that take. But, I mean,
I'm not.
You're not going to defend that take?
No, I'm not going to defend it because that's what I said.
I know. Okay, so this is what was written in The Athletic in the whole Dodgers landing Roki. In the article, it says stability became a topic they'd continue to hammer in the recruiting efforts, particularly as a contrast to the ongoing legal battle surrounding the rival Padres ownership group. So that was written in The Athletic in the back and forth trying to lure or land Roki Sasaki. When you read something like that, does it make you dig in more about the issues they're having right now, Seidler Bros, and what's on the other side?
Look, smart, good on the Dodgers, man. If I find out my competition is dealing with like issues in the front office or instability, knowing that like the Dodgers organization, how stable it is, Andrew Friedman ain't going anywhere, Dave Roberts going anywhere, isn't going anywhere.
Right.
You got, the Guggenheims and their TV deal. Like everything is locked in place for potentially decades. Like the only way that those guys are leaving or there's going to be changes is if those people decide to leave. That's how I feel. So they're using their stability as a recruiting tactic and using the instability also from other teams as a recruiting tactic as well. Like, do I think that would have been out there if the lawsuit didn't come out when it did? I mean, I don't know. Do the Dodgers know the inner workings of what's going on with the Padres? Highly unlikely. They might hear some rumblings around baseball, but like, you don't have anything in front of you, hard, concrete evidence. But now you have the lawsuit. You have everything that's going back and forth. You have seen what this team has done this offseason, which is nothing, right? So you can use that to your advantage. And if I'm the Dodgers, I absolutely do use that to my advantage, and good on them. I mean, don't you think that is what's fair is a fair game?
Well, it's like college athletics. Like in recruiting, if there's a coach with 1 year left on his deal, it's like, why are you choosing LSU? It's a lame duck coach when you can choose Alabama. I just signed a 5-year deal. I agree with that. But when I read something like that, does it make you want to go further into the narrative of Padres ownership is costing the Padres ability to win? Like if the ultimate goal is to win a World Series, do the Seidler Bros have enough? Are they going to be able to do that? Like, are they vested? Are they trying to win at the highest level? Is the lawsuit from Shield, is this instability, this infighting, is this going to be costly in the pursuit? I mean, you're trying to compete against this evil empire, so to speak, in the LA Dodgers, and you can't even get your own house in order.
Yeah, I see that over the weekend, and it just further puts me into the direction of like, eventually I think they need to sell this team, because if this is going to be a problem for potential free agents or your ability or inability to sign free agents, that's going to be a problem. AJ Preller can't trade for great players every single year, because you eventually are not going to have that many prospects to trade away. Preller has to get even more creative now with the parameters that he's dealing with. And last year, he did it beautifully. This year, I'm sure he wants to act, and I'm sure he wants to, like, you know, do a lot of different things, but he's also handcuffed in a lot of different ways. He has to look at the future. He has to look at the now. And if he ends up making trades, some trades might involve players that he doesn't want to give away. And because of that, maybe standing pat is what he has decided to do. And signing all of these minor league players, I don't think is a coincidence. I think there's going to be a lot of players that he signed this offseason of minor league deals that will be on this 26-man roster come opening day. That's just how I feel. And I every day that passes and this team doing absolutely nothing and spending $0, this to me falls directly on the side of their bros. And if it doesn't change, then yeah, sell the team, because what you're doing is a complete 180 for what Peter's legacy was here for the Padres.
Yeah, it's easy to write in a press release like we're going to honor Peter's legacy, but then their actions aren't backing up those words. Jesse Rogers from ESPN will join us on the other side. Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We have a Morton's gift card to give away. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. They lost to UNLV, another home loss for the Aztecs. Next up, they take on Air Force on the road tomorrow night, 7 p.m. tip. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Over the weekend, Dodgers, they keep on signing everybody. They signed Tanner Scott, and this morning they signed Kirby Yates to bolster their bullpen. And NFL news of the day, Ben Johnson was hired yesterday as the Bears' new head coach, and Kevin O'Connell today got a contract extension from the Minnesota Vikings. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right call when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, great to be joined by Jesse Rogers, ESPN great baseball reporter. We're pushing closer towards spring training. It's been busy, obviously, over the weekend. Roki Sasaki, and now we learn about Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, as we've been talking about here over the first 30 minutes of the show. So, Jesse, always appreciate the time. Good to have you with us in San Diego. Obviously, it's a huge talking point in San Diego, what's going on right now with the Dodgers. And, of course, the Padres thought maybe they were in on Sasaki. So just like a 30,000-foot conversation that comes up, I'm sure, a lot when you're on radio or TV or, writing about the sport. Is what's going on right here, quote unquote, good for the sport? When the Dodgers have the $375 million payroll, the next closest is Philadelphia. I think Jeff Passan tweeted maybe $70 million under that. Is this sustainable? Is this good? What happens on the other side of this when there's another CBA? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I don't think it's great for the sport that so much talent is concentrated in one place or several places. If you include the Yankees and maybe the Mets, like, it's probably not great, but I don't blame the Dodgers. They're playing under the rules, right? They're doing what is allowed under these rules. I think that a couple things are in play. I think they made a ton of money over the last year or so, and certainly the last few years between their TV deal. Shohei Ohtani is paying for himself and then some. So I think they're spending the money they're making. And who knows? We might be reaching a tipping point in terms of the economic system of the sport. So maybe they're loading up knowing that after 2026, there's going to be a new system in place. Who knows? Salary cap, not salary cap. It could look different. It could look similar. But what do they care? They're loading up and they're ready to be good for the next 3 years. So, I mean, I don't think it's great that a couple, three teams, are the ones going after all the stars every year. It's probably not great. I mean, that's just common sense. I don't blame anybody but the system itself. And that, comes down to the owners and the players, to be honest. It's their job to collectively bargain a system that's provide some parity and things like that. And 86 win teams can get to the World Series, but the Dodgers are guaranteeing themselves a playoff berth over and over and over again. And again, I don't see a problem with that, but the problem could be within the system.
A couple of years ago, it wasn't too long ago that, the Padres were third in payroll in all of baseball. Peter Seidler was a guy that wanted to invest a lot of his money in the on-field product. And in turn, it made a lot of small market owners upset. One in particular, Dick Monfort of the Colorado Rockies, calling out Peter Seidler, saying, it's not sustainable. And then you see a lot of pundits out there and national media saying it's not sustainable. Why aren't these small market owners upset about what the Dodgers are doing? And in turn, why aren't people, I guess, putting the pressure on those small markets to be like, hey, why aren't you spending money? Why aren't you going out and spending your money when the Dodgers are doing exactly what they should be doing?
So I think it comes down to what you believe in terms of the economics of the sport. The Padres, I think it's kind of commonly known. They're a good example that I think we would all agree were operating at a loss in those moments under Peter Seidler, in those years, I guess you can say. And they're feeling the effects now. I think they're looking to dump some more salary. I think they didn't bring back Martin Perez because he was $5 million. So I mean, if you're willing to operate at a loss, okay, but I could see how the other small market owners would be upset because they're making them look bad because they don't want to operate at a loss. The Dodgers are operating with their profits, and I don't think anybody can come down on them for that. So I think if you really want to peel back everything that's going on here, that's the difference. The Padres were operating at a loss. The Dodgers are operating and using their profits back in their team. And so the small market owners, I think, would say, if we make a lot of money, we'll put it back on our team and we'll spend some, but we're not. Now, again, that's all up to all of us to believe or not believe because the books aren't open. But if you saw some of the comments out of Chicago where I'm based, the owner of the Cubs, a big market team, said, hey, we're looking to break even. And everybody went nuts because they didn't believe that that's all they do year to year. So that's the difference. Small market teams don't want to operate at a loss while a team like the Dodgers doesn't have to.
Jesse Rogers, ESPN, with us right now on Jon and Jim. So switching gears to Roki Sasaki, which clearly wasn't solely about money for the player because he could only get so much in this posting process. But then again, the sustainability of an organization or the direction of an organization, I'm sure, was critically important to the player. What do you think was the difference here? Why LA above the other potential suitors in your mind?
In my mind, it was almost fait accompli. The momentum of that team, Shohei, Yamamoto. I mean, the one thing was Darvish was a big selling point, certainly for San Diego. But I can't know until we hear from the kid, right? The things that his agent said applied to a bunch of teams. I do think year in and year out, there's really, until further notice, only a handful of teams, including the Padres, that Japanese players are going to want to go to. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes to make them comfortable, the best version of themselves. And there's 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 teams that really understand and know how to do it. They recruit over there. They've already had a history of Japanese players, and the Dodgers are among them. So I can't tell you his personal motivation. We don't know that. He hasn't done an interview yet. But I think that we're just going to hear that it's the Dodgers. It's all the things you'd expect. And, why maybe he turned away from you, Darvish, one of his heroes. Again, we have to hear from him. But I think I'll tell you, someone within the sport that was after him, that's one of these teams I'm talking about, one of these half dozen teams. I'm not going to tell you the team, said to me, if the Dodgers want you, why wouldn't you want them? Right. Does that answer it? Yeah. Does that answer it for you?
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. They are in the position right now where it's like a destination. Hey, you want to win and get paid and be in Southern California? Like, we are the destination for you. And we've just seen that with Tanner Scott, and Kirby Yates today. Jesse, a part of the recruitment process for Roki Sasaki that has come up recently has been about the ownership issues with the Padres. And I don't know if that played any role in this, but it's been reported the Dodgers were like, hey, look, we're stable here. Padres, they're really not stable because of the lawsuit between, the Seidler brothers and Shields Seidler. Have you heard anything around baseball as far as like what is going to happen with this and how much of an effect it could have on the Padres going forward in making moves and signings and free agency?
Yeah, I really haven't. I think that there's the business side and then there's the baseball side, and certainly the Padres have done a good job on the baseball side. Yeah, they're not spending like they did when Peter was around, but they have a good baseball ops operation, and department, I guess I should say, good baseball ops department. So I haven't heard that impacting it, but it is kind of early in that turmoil there. If it explodes in some way, maybe. I'm going to guess it didn't have an impact on Sasaki. It's like, you heard behind, under the surface that Sasaki was most likely to go to the Dodgers for almost a year now, which is why I think the agent was so adamant about this process being public in a way. Like, most agents don't hold press conferences. Joe Wolf held a couple of them. He wanted to make it clear that it was on the up and up, whether it was or not. I assume that it was. And every team had a chance. Could be wrong, but I think it's what I said. If the Dodgers want you, why wouldn't you want them? And of course, he had to hear the right things. I mean, most pitchers that come over want to hear about how are you going to make me better and keep me healthy and things. I know the Dodgers have had some history of injuries. They've also had a history of making Dodger pitchers really good. Michael Kopech comes over there and he's lights out. So. I think it was down to a handful of teams. And again, why wouldn't you pick the Dodgers? So I don't think there's anything negative going on with the Padres publicly, but obviously events could change that.
Jesse Rogers, ESPN, with us. I mean, it wasn't long ago, Jesse, the Padres led the Dodgers 2-1. I think for a brief moment of time, they were probably the favorite to win the World Series. For that one day, leading that series at home,
It was a fun day.
Game 4. It was a very fun day.
I remember that day very
game.
well.
Then they were blown out in Game 4, and then they didn't score in Game 5. Of course, they didn't score in 24 consecutive innings. Like, I guess my point is this. We get so enamored with an offseason. Padres have had good off seasons and then bad teams. Yeah. And then the the Dodgers last offseason, Ohtani, Yamamoto, their regular season was 98 wins. They trailed the Padres, of course, in that series again, 2-1. I guess my question is this. Even with the Padres having a quiet offseason, do you still see them as a viable contender in the National League?
Well, I do, except that it does seem like they're tightening their purse strings. And so that, of course, could be a concern now. AJ Preller is a wheeler and dealer. And, most owners, when it comes to the deadline, provide some wiggle room. If their management comes to them and says, look, we have a chance at winning it all here. So, they might be tightening the purse strings now. Doesn't mean they have to in July. But I think, you have to worry that they were adding, and now they're starting to subtract a little bit more. And let's see if Dylan Cease or, Robert Suarez has to be moved before opening day, but AJ's pretty good at this kind of stuff. And I still see them as a contender. Look what they did last July, for example, right? So it's going to be a little bit tougher of a road than it was under Peter, who was just spending.
Jesse, final one for me. What have you heard about the market for Jurickson Profar?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that's a great example of the Padres, right? And whether they would have the money or not. It's going to get moving. I just don't know which team's going to jump because there are some teams tightening the purse strings. Like, the Blue Jays just spent some money, but he's going to have a market. I just don't know what, sort of dollars and contracts he's looking at. But that's a great example of a guy that, should be on the Padres, but may not be because of the cost.
No doubt. Jesse, we appreciate it. We're excited for the start of spring training just a couple of weeks away. We appreciate you joining us in San Diego, and we hope to do it again soon. So thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
You got it, guys. Be well.
Great stuff. Jesse Rogers will react on the other side. Again, we've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away, a gift card to Morton Steakhouse as well. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network, is on the show at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
All right, so Fire Aid benefit concert happening Thursday, January 30th, raising money for rebuilding communities devastated by the wildfires and supporting efforts to prevent future fire disasters throughout Southern California. For donations and concert information, visit fireaidla.org. That's fireaidla.org. This will be broadcast on iHeartRadio stations nationwide and on the free iHeartRadio app. Again, Thursday, January 30th. We'll hear from Michael King coming up on his arbitration. Where was that sound? That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it just popped up on my YouTube algorithm, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Michael King talking about his arbitration because remember, he has not come to terms. This is a rarity. This has never happened under AJ Preller, a player going to arbitration with the Padres.
So it is the Casa de Club podcast.
Oh yeah, of course.
Corey Kluber.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
It's the Casa. Here's the description. The Casa de Club podcast is hosted by two-time Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber and former Arizona Wildcat Tyler Casagrande. And they had Michael King on, and this was posted 22 hours ago. Not many views yet for, I guess this podcast with a former Cy Young Award winner. 1,100 views.
1,100 views?
It's good. But if it's like 15, 20K, whatever. But anyway, I click on it and I'm like, oh, you please be talking about the arbitration, right? And he does. He talks about the arbitration like right away. And it's interesting. He doesn't get into too many details about it, but there is one thing in it that you'll hear coming up at the top of the hour that I'm like, oh. And that, we haven't really talked much about the Michael King arbitration, but there is, in my mind, like a 0% chance if Peter were still here that this would have gone to arbitration. They would have gotten Michael King locked up, and there's a reason why AJ Preller and this organization has not gone to a single arbitration case in his entire tenure as GM, and it's just furthering the point, and also, showing the fans that this new ownership group, I don't know about it.
If it goes to arbitration, I agree with you.
Well,
he's speaking like it's going to arbitration. They could settle before arbitration. They could agree to a multi-year deal. Now, again, I'm with you. The actions of the organization are they're going to go to arbitration with their best pitcher over $1.5 million, which is insane considering where the Padres have been over the last 10 years. If you just heard Jesse Rogers, who was with us from ESPN, he said he used this caveat. He's like, yeah, I think the Padres are a contender, other than the fact that I'm fearful that they're tightening their purse strings.
Oh, they can't spend.
And that if they don't bring back a player like Jurickson Profar, that absolutely would be here if Peter Seidler was here. There is no question.
None.
That we can at least say. I'm not saying I can guarantee Roki. I'm not saying I can guarantee anything else. But I can guarantee with really high levels of certainty that if Peter Seidler was still representing ownership, you're going to close a deal on Jurickson Profar, Mr. Vibes Above Replacement, good vibes Jurickson. And right now, it's like there's other suitors because you're letting this play out for so long, and teams are missing out on players like Anthony Santander, who's getting $90 million. You're not getting Jurickson Profar, Jim, for a 1-year, $9 million deal. You're going to have to go out and get him.
And I know Jesse said there about small market owners, losing cost if they go out and spend like the Dodgers or the Padres of years past. But I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, Peter bucked that trend. He cared about the fan base more than anything. And all he wanted to do was bring a championship to San Diego. If they lost $100 million in, I guess, base revenue or whatever, metric you want to look at, Peter was okay with that because he figured on the other side he was going to recoup that money. And there's 40,000 people at that ballpark every single night. Tickets are through the roof. Beers are $25. Like, I think they're doing okay. Now, the one thing that is still a major problem, I'm sure Dave will call in any second when I mention this, but the TV deal is an absolute joke. If Eric Grupner is going to be in charge of doing, the TV deal and all that stuff, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, get it done because you're not helping this team out. I know you have no say in roster decisions, but you are indirectly affecting all roster decisions by not getting a TV deal done. If the Reds and what other team did the other day?
Was it the Twins?
Might have been the Twins. I forget which teams.
In terms of like some ridiculous
but
TV conglomerate.
At least it's something.
Well, yeah. How many times have you heard me say this? The Dodgers are getting, I think, in the neighborhood of $325 million per year from their TV deal. Think about that.
Yeah.
Their payroll's $375. They're getting 300 something from TV. Think about that.
Yeah.
All of the revenues for players are covered by television. The Padres 3 years ago got 60. Now, 60 is less than 1/5 of 325. But guess what they're getting now?
0.
So
Potentially,
honestly,
I don't
it's
know.
probably, and again, if I'm wrong, I'd love to have Eric Consenda call in or someone from the pod. It can't be more, or Eric Consenda.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be more than $10 million.
And that's unacceptable.
You're competing with a team that's getting 325. It's like you can't compete. It's like trying to compete with someone that has 100 million Twitter followers and you got 100.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. It really is. How can you go this long and you still don't have a TV deal? Like, get something done. If the TV deal is not going to be what it previously was, like, okay, I get it. But
get something done.
Get something done. It's ridiculous, because if you're going to lose out on bringing guys back like Jerks and Profar, the fan base is going to be pissed, and they're already pissed. I know that last year there were not a lot of moves made, but there actually was, like the trades, and they did make a couple signings before right now. And I know Profar was after this exact date. I know the trade for Michael King happened and Luis Ariz and everything, but there's been no trades. There's been no signings. There's been a bunch of minor league signings, and losing out on a guy like Jerks and Profar because you don't want to go to $13 million a year for a guy who was so crucial to your team last year, and a guy that without, how are you going to replace that from within? Because you can't. I mean, it just gets to a point where I can't help but sit here, and as the days pass, put more and more blame on the Seidler brothers than AJ Preller. It's really hard for me to look at AJ Preller and get mad at him when he's operating in an organization with owners who are not willing to do what is necessary to win on the field.
Jurickson Profar is working out with Fernando Tatis Jr. again. There's clearly, these relationships are very strong relationships. Jurickson Profar with Fernando Tatis Jr. and others. And I'm not saying just sign him because he's got a good relationship. Guy hit all year. He hit all year, including in the second half. The numbers dipped a little bit, but he hit. If you go inside the numbers, the dude hit in the second half. You got to, if you're going to spend anything, spend it on someone that can help you right now at the big league level. We'll hear from Michael King on the other side as he gets set potentially for the first arbitration case ever with the Padres and AJ Preller. You're going 10 plus years. The first arbitration case ever could be with Michael King and the Padres during AJ Preller's tenure. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We have a Morton's gift card to give away. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. Another loss at home, this time to UNLV over the weekend. They'll take on Air Force on the road tomorrow night. 7 p.m. tip time, 6 p.m. pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Baseball news. Padres are still waiting to sign their first player of the offseason. Meanwhile, the Dodgers continue to round up all the good players, signing Tanner Scott over the weekend. And this morning, signing Kirby Yates. And NFL news of the day, Kevin O'Connell got a contract extension from the Minnesota Vikings. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
With spring training weeks away, will the Padres answer the Dodgers' flurry of roster moves? And will the off-field courtroom drama change A.J. Preller's plans? Plus, we'll take a first look as Brian Dutcher and the Aztecs head up to Colorado Springs tomorrow night. Now, time for Jon and Jim.
Hi, San Diego and Southern California. What's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. This hour, should we give away a Morton's gift card this hour or San Diego State tickets this hour? I'm going to leave it up to
basketball.
Okay, well, Brent has made the
basketball
decision. We're going to do basketball. San Diego State, San Jose State, January 28th, which is in 1 week.
Oh,
we'll give away those tickets coming up this hour. Next hour, a chance to win a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse. How cool is that? Restaurant week coming up. So we've got a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse. We'll give away next hour.
I'm surprised you haven't made fun of me yet today for something.
Make fun of you every day.
No, I know.
Is it your check mark?
That's what I'm surprised you haven't
mentioned.
All right,
let's talk about that real quick. So, Mr. I'm down on Twitter because he used to have a check mark. I mean, let's just go through the story here. Okay. There was a moment in time where Jim owned Twitter. Jim was like Elon before Elon.
No, it wasn't. But
you had
yes,
a check mark. Life was good. But then they changed the way you get check marks. Twitter changed hands.
To buy it
now. You could buy a check mark. We both kind of boycotted that idea. We're not buying check marks. So all of a sudden, and Jim had to tell me before I found out. I'm glad you did. Because I would have ripped you.
I know, because I was waiting for you to be like, what the hell?
So Jim's like, did you see my Twitter? I'm like, oh, is there a check mark? So I went to his Twitter, and there it is. A blue check mark from Jim Russell, co-host at Jon and Jim, 2 to 6 p.m. So what happened?
So over the weekend, as you know, we were texting back and forth, trying to get an engineer for tomorrow night's basketball game. Behind the curtain stuff, right?
Yeah, behind the curtain, you should have found this engineer in 2024.
Yeah, you know what? Shut up. It's taken care of. We're all good.
It's taken care of because of me.
Well, all you had to do was give me the guy's number.
Yes, true.
That was it. That's all you had to do.
True.
But anyway, so I was looking to find contacts in Air Force, or not in Air Force, in Colorado Springs for the Air Force game tomorrow night for the Aztecs. And I found the play-by-play man for Air Force.
Sure.
And I tried to send him a DM. And it said, you can't send a person a DM unless they're following you or unless you have a check mark. And look, desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's fair because the game's coming. You got 2 days. Jim's thinking who's going to engineer this game? Do I need to fly to Colorado Springs?
I'm like, I'll do whatever. Right. I'll pay
to get this engineer.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I then buy a subscription to Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this sucks. $11. Dropped $11. I'm like, all right. I go to message this guy, and it still won't let me message him. It says it will take up to 5 days or something for it to be approved. I'm like, whoa. So are you telling me I just paid this money for this dumb subscription to message somebody because it says I needed to have it in order to do it, and it won't let me message him? So I then immediately cancel the subscription, but I have it for a month. So I have it until, I guess, February 20th or whatever, February 18th or 19th. I don't know. So
why don't you keep it forever and be a man?
No,
just pay every month.
I do not want to do that, John.
So you're going to have this subscription for only 1 month?
For 1 month. And
what if you go viral with the check mark? What if over the next month, everyone's reaching out to you, oh, I see you have a check mark. You're kind of a big deal. Would you then keep it?
I don't.
So you can do month to month as opposed to annual?
The check mark means nothing anymore.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that.
I see like random people. I'm like, you have like 3 followers, and you have,
Right.
like a check mark. It doesn't mean
Right, like Fadden has a check. I'm kidding. Man. I don't even think he does.
I don't think he does. But anyway, because I was very adamant when the blue check became something you had to buy,
right,
that I would never do it because like I don't want to. Like, who cares?
Right, but you did it.
But
Talking Friars does have a check mark.
Oh, okay, Mr. Talking Friars.
Maybe because he's overly relevant, they just gave him one.
Anyway, so I knew eventually you're going to see it.
I was going to kill you.
And I knew eventually you're going to make fun of me. And I knew eventually I was going to get a text from you and Darnay saying how like, I crumbled and I can't believe you bought a check mark and you caved and oh, look at this guy. So I'm giving you a very valid reason as to why I have a check mark currently. And it will soon go away after a month. So,
okay. No, I appreciate the backstory there because it actually makes a lot of sense. Because otherwise you would have had to like fly to Colorado Springs to go engineer an Aztec game. So it's worth the $11 try
yes.
as opposed to fly to Colorado Springs.
100%. Now, ironically enough, the person I was trying to reach out to, I did find his email and I emailed him and then he emailed me right back. And so I actually technically never had to get a check mark in the first place.
All's well that ends well. The game will be on the radio tomorrow night, San Diego Sports 760, 7 o'clock Pacific, pregame coverage at 6 p.m. We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets for a week from tonight against San Jose State back at Viejas Arena this hour. So Michael King was on this podcast with whom again?
Corey
Kluber.
Corey Kluber, yeah.
All right. So Michael King discussed some of the intricacies of his arbitration hearing, which is yet to take place. So this is Michael King, who has not yet come to terms with the Padres. This is an abnormality under AJ Preller. They've never gone to arbitration with a player in 10 plus seasons.
Do you know the exact number? I mean, I can find it. No. The exact number that Michael King has compared to the Padres. It's like,
I know it's $1.5 million difference.
Okay, that's
I don't know the numbers. The difference is $1.5 million. Let's hear from Michael King discussing how this process is playing out.
I mean, the arbitration process is basically you, your agent, the union comes up with a number that they think you are worth. The team comes up with a number that they think you're worth. And you try to settle on a number that's, I don't know, I guess advantageous to both sides. This year, unfortunately, we didn't get really close. So then you file. I say what I think I'm worth. Team says what they think I'm worth. In a couple days, they'll set a date for when the hearing actually is. And at the hearing, you got 3 arbiters sitting there. They're not really affiliated with baseball. I think they're lawyers. I don't know who.
I believe so. Yeah.
And my agent will present my case. The team, whoever their representative, presents their case. And that's where like it could get a little ugly for other players. I have no idea how it'll be with me. This is my first time going to hearing. But like the team's supposed to try to devalue you, and they're trying to convince these 3 arbiters
you're not worth what you say.
Wait, so you haven't done this yet?
No. So you settle. I think it was January 9th. That's like the settle deadline. And if you don't come to an agreement on a certain number, if you're too far off, and like these 17 guys are further off than they would like to be, then each side sets a number, and then the hearings are between like January 27th and February 11th. So they set a date, and it's in St. Pete right here. And then you just go and present your case, and you just sit there and wear it with whatever the team says to you. Mm-hmm. But you hope that your agent or your side is more convincing, and then whatever. No, it's not like the arbiters decide what number you get. It's like you settle at this, they settle, or they file at this, and they pick one number. Basically, you have to prove that you're $1 more than the midpoint. So
those 2 numbers out there right now. The 2. So that's what so it'll be one of the 2.
One of the 2.
So I just said congratulations, but nothing's happened yet.
It's okay. If I lose, then you look like a douche.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I want Michael King here for a long time. Mm-hmm. I want a contract extension with Michael King, but hearing from him there doesn't sound like that's going to happen anytime soon. And it also doesn't sound like they're going to settle before his arbitration date. Do you get that feeling?
Yes, but no.
Things could change. Things can change very quickly.
Based on money and agents, and there can be like maneuvering,
right?
Like kind of like a settlement that happens oftentimes in a court case. There can be a settlement here. Now, the dollar figure again, I don't know the exact dollar figure. I just Googled it.
It was under 10 million. I know that.
He's asking for under 10, right?
He's asking for under 10. I think the number was around 8-ish.
Listen to this. This is what. So I just Googled it.
Yeah.
Guess who wrote an article at Gaslamp Ball? Ben Fadden. Okay, Ben Fadden has this article. So this is January 15th. Listen to this. The Padres proposed paying King $7.325 million. So $7.3 million.
Mhm.
And King has proposed 8.8. If that's accurate, that's according to Kevin Acey. So I think that's accurate.
It is. Yeah.
The difference there is actually less than 1.5. It's 1.475. So $1,475,000 is what they're willing to go to arbitration over. Remember, you just heard Jesse Rogers tell us that Martin Perez isn't back because of $5 million.
I'm okay with that.
And then, but also, who was the catcher? Higgy's not back.
I'm kind of okay with that.
Okay, and then
Donovan Solano's
Solano's not. But at
okay
some
with
point,
that.
you're breaking camel's backs. You're right. I'm with you. I'm with you. But at some point, you're going to arbitration with King, and Profar's not back, and Higgy's not back, and Solano's not back, and you couldn't land Roki. Like, you're not getting better.
Right.
Now, maybe you're not getting worse. Maybe AJ Preller can figure this whole thing out. You're not getting better, and you're putting some of your future success in limbo when you're going to court with your best pitcher, potentially.
Yeah, it's a tricky and potentially dangerous game you're playing because we know how these arbitration cases could go. I mean, just look at Corbin Burns and Josh Hader and countless other players that have gone to arbitration with that team, and it got ugly. Like, I don't want that to be the case with Michael King. And I would bet a lot that neither does AJ Preller. I would bet that AJ Preller and his front office
Preller doesn't want this.
Does not want to do this. And I mean, I've seen no reporting or anything on why they aren't meeting Michael King here, but it's really hard not to put two and two together, and it's really hard not to look at the dynamics in the front office with the Seither Bros in charge and being like, are you guys seriously not going to do this over $1,004,000?
The guy struck out like 28 against the he struck out
More
more
than
batters than there
yeah.
are. He struck out everyone
all of them
against Atlanta in like a near perfect start. And we're talking about $1.475 million. Now, again, for me or you, that's a lot of money. Like, it's a lot of money, but not in baseball terms. I'm sorry, it's not. When the Dodgers have a payroll of $375 million, you can't tell me $1.475 million for your best pitcher, arguably. Yeah. You can't tell me it's worth that.
A guy that, you need to lock up. And I've read that it's because there's not a good comp to Michael King. Okay, well, guess what? I just watched the dude go out and strike out 14 batters in his first postseason game against the Braves, and I saw him go out this year and have a sub-3 ERA and almost 200 innings. That's all I need to see.
And he's asking for 8.8. Dudes are making 25 for no reason. I get it. He's not yet a free agent. He's not going to get 25. That's fair. He's not asking for 25.
But and as Jesse Rogers says, when you are now in a situation where, like, every $1 million counts for this team now, then you're potentially going to have these types of situations. And it's ridiculous. And I mean, if you're a fan of this team, like, I'm pissed.
I agree with that. All right. We see you on hold. We'll get you on the other side. We're up against it right now. But if you want to weigh in here, 877-767-4760. We'd love to hear from you, Padres fans. 877-767-4760. So we'll do that on the other side. We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets coming up this hour. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network will join us at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim. 4760. We both saw this, Jim, though, what Verizon's doing here since the wildfires in Southern California, waiving call, text, and data usage fees for customers in California's hardest hit counties. They're providing free charging and Wi-Fi in all local retail store locations, as well as at American Red Cross shelters throughout Southern California. So just something to consider. We talk about what's going on in the community. We've talked about these wildfires. They've impacted so many people. We know it's impacted San Diegans. There was a wildfire earlier today in Mission Valley area.
Right across from Cheesecake Factory in Fashion Valley.
Right by the Fashion Valley Mall.
Yeah,
All those communities are right there. We know it can impact anyone.
Apartment buildings.
But Verizon, again, is dedicated to assisting those in communities here impacted by wildfires throughout Southern California.
Yeah, I think anything to help. And, with Verizon, they're doing their best to help the communities with whatever they need. And I think, people coming together in times like this, you definitely see it. We've had, here at iHeartRadio throughout California and the nation doing whatever they can to help, but Verizon helping out as well. And so, yeah, it's great.
Staying connected to friends and family, more important than ever right now. Verizon dedicated to keeping everyone in LA and Southern California connected. All right, let's go to the phones, and let's start with Matt, who's been very patient. We'll get to these phone calls right now. 877-767-4760. Matt, appreciate the patience. You're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can.
We got you.
All right. So my point is, I saw my dad, God rest his soul, watch the Pirates go through 20 losing seasons. And the reason I say that is their ownership just does not care, right? They went through so many talented players, Andrew McCutchen, Garrett Cole. So I don't feel bad for the owners. And I want to relate this to the Padres. Your window is not in 2 or 3 years. If you look at the ages of Xander and Manny, you guys got to compete now or within, the next 2 years. What is stopping the Padres ownership from getting Profar and maybe deferring his contract, I don't know, over 6 or 7 years when a new ownership group, who, as you guys have had, Kevin Acee on and saying that, this will most likely result into the sale of the team. Why not have another ownership group later on deal with the contracts going? Because the competitive window is now.
It's a good call. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, buddy. I agree. The window is now. Manny's not getting any younger. Xander's contract's only going to get worse. And you have Cease and King under contract for this year and this year alone. So you got to try to capitalize on it. Same thing with Luis Ariz. It's imperative that they do everything they possibly can in this window, in the here and now, to bring a World Series back to San Diego. We thought that the team was close last year. That's why it hurt so bad for all Padres fans, because it's like, oh man, this might have been our closest shot that we've had, and it might be our closest shot that we are going to have, just because of the, you see the landscape of the team with the contracts and everything like that. But yeah, it's the owner's decision to spend, and it's the owner's decision to not spend. And if players don't want to defer money, they don't have to, but they choose to defer with the Dodgers because, one, they know the Dodgers are good for it. Two, they're going to go to a winning organization and they're going to win a bunch of baseball games. And when I hear things like, oh, why don't other teams defer contracts? Well, it's not up to the team. It's up to the player. And the player has to decide to defer it or not. And, Shohei, while I am hard-pressed to believe that this was 100% his idea to defer like 95% of his contract, he did. And that was his choice. And because of that, it gave the Dodgers so much more opportunities to go out and do what they're doing now. And it sucks because, do I wish Manny deferred 90% of his contract? Like, yeah, but we know that he was not going to do that. Do I wish Xander deferred 90% of his contract? Yeah, but that wasn't going to happen. Nor do I think the Padres would want to do that, because that would mean that eventually a time would be that they would have to pay these players almost $1 billion, when I don't know if they have that in the future.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I mean, the fact that the Dodgers are deferring like this is problematic for the rest of baseball, because it's giving the Dodgers payroll flexibility in the now.
Yeah.
And it's something that they don't have to worry about until later. It's like putting something on a credit card. All right, let's go to Dave on line 1. Again, if you want to weigh in, 877-767-4760. Dave, always appreciate it. You're back on with Jon and Jim.
Yeah, likewise, gentlemen. Great discussion again today. Well, look, I'm going to say a couple of things here, and the last thing I'm going to say is a real head stretcher here because I think we're at the point where maybe we ought to look at some things that stretch a little bit. But first, look, by any objective measurement, I'm going to disagree with the last caller. The best years for the Padres window was the last 5 years. We have now entered into this gray period of ownership in which there's a serious decline. The bigger problem that I have with baseball is that this gap that has now been established and basically looked upon favorably by most of baseball, at least the media and what have you, with the Dodgers, is bigger than any other gap I've ever seen in the history of the game. They can talk all they want about the George Steinbrenner Yankees and their gap at that time. It was nothing like it is now. And as a fan, I find this reprehensible that this is basically what we have to look forward to in perpetuity, at least for the next God knows how many years here at the Padres. Now, leads to my last comment. This is going to be a little bit of a stretch, guys, and percolate on this. Don't give an answer now. Just let it resonate, let it settle. At this point, I would not be opposed to have the Padres petition baseball and move us over to the AL West. Get us the hell away from the Dodgers. I know. Let it percolate. It'd be good for the Angels. They don't have to travel as much.
That's not
Good
happening.
for Artie
Dave.
Moreno. Artie
Actually,
would love it.
Dave,
It's a
thank
good-
you. You know what I will say? When baseball gets to 32 teams, it'll be the NFL. There'll be 8 4-team divisions. I don't know what happens. Divisions will change. There'll be 32 teams. They'll have 8 4-team divisions. They've already talked about this. Rob Manfred's talked about this. I don't know what's going to happen. You really want to go run away from your rival? Like, is that a good luck?
No.
Let's go run away from our rival. Can't beat them. Let's go to the NL Central.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Let's go play the Pirates more.
No,
It doesn't make any sense.
That's not going to happen. But appreciate the out of the box thinking.
Honestly, something could in the future. Divisions are going to change.
Yeah, the Astros were in
future.
the National League forever, and then they went over to the American League.
Same thing with the Brewers.
Yeah, Brewers.
Same thing happens. So
AL
things
Central.
do change, but I'm not banking on, hey, Dodgers are really good. Let's get out of this division. More of your calls on the other side, plus 3 new members of Cooperstown. The Baseball Hall of Fame class for 2025 has been announced. Ichiro's unanimous, right? Stay with us on Jon and Jim. He has to be.
Not all products are available in all 50 states. Compounded products are not FDA approved nor verified for safety, efficacy, or quality. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. See
You put this very eloquently on social media. Who is the moron that didn't vote for Ichiro Suzuki for a first ballot Hall of Famer? There is only one.
One person.
We do believe it's public. There is one person, which means Mariano Rivera remains the only ever to go in unanimously. But Ichiro, as you just said, Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia. By the way, with Billy Wagner getting in, get ready for Josh Hader. Just get ready for Josh Hader. I'm telling you right now, he's going to finish with, he's got 200 saves. Hader, he's only 30. He's going to get to 350 plus, and Josh Hader is going to be in the Hall of Fame, like Billy Wagner, who's in the Hall of Fame. So get ready for that. But Ichiro, I mean, is this even arguable? He's the best ever Japanese-born major leaguer. I mean, he did so much in Japan before he even got here. 3,100 hits. I mean, is this even arguable? Now, maybe someone. I mean, how do you not vote for him? What was the theory here?
So you had 393 out of 394 votes, 99.7%. It's going to come out because when it's one person, that will come out. These are public, right?
We thought they were, but no, I don't think they are, because didn't we do some reconnaissance to find out that Barry Bloom was the only that didn't vote for whom? There was someone else that was one shy. Was it Derek Jeter? It was Jeter.
Yeah,
it was Jeter.
No, yeah, there's never been a unanimous position player voted in the Hall of Fame.
Well, there's only been one player.
That Mariano Rivera.
That's it.
Which, again, if you're not, and I hate,
or was it Griffey?
No,
was it Griffey that had one vote that he didn't get? Griffey. And we determined it was Barry Bloom.
Did we? Did we find that out, or just
we did
throwing him on the bus because he's that kind of guy?
We did a deep dive. We did a deep dive on it, and everyone else said they voted for. I forget the circumstance. It's been a few years.
I mean, it also, if Tony Gwynn's not going to get unanimous,
no, he was multiple.
If Cal Ripken's not going to get unanimous,
yeah,
what are we doing here? It once again just shows the baseball community, time to move into the new age. What are we doing? Stop living in the past, move forward, evolve, adapt. This whole notion if Babe Ruth's not voted a unanimous, then no
how
player.
Can I make? Yeah,
there's no player. Shut up, stop. This
isn't even the baseball community. This is just writers.
This is
it's anonymous.
It's
anonymous.
Old writers. Well,
I'm on Seattle Times right now, and they said they probably won't find out. They said the Ken Griffey Jr. thing, he was 3 votes shy of unanimous in 2016, and they said still to this day they don't know who those 3 guys are. So
publish the votes. You know what I mean? If nothing else,
you can reveal it, but they said it's not required. So obviously this guy's not gonna, unless he's got a book or something, he's gonna want to sell, and he's gonna want the
why
attention.
I didn't vote for Ichiro. I like that.
By all accounts, Ichiro was from the day he stepped on a baseball field in the States, dude's a this guy, everything he did was Hall of Fame-esque. The way he approached the game, the way that he, played defense in right field early on in his career. And then, just one of the best hitters the sport has ever seen.
Dude won MVP as a rookie. He's unanimous.
Yeah,
dude won MVP as a rookie. Yeah. But again, it's we're preaching to choirs.
I know.
We're crying over spilled milk.
Yeah.
And again, to Brent's point, it's someone wanted to make a point because you become the story by not voting for him.
Yeah.
The story now is, he wasn't unanimous. Wonder who didn't vote for him.
And they should just take it away all in. I know they're not ever going to do that, but it should just be all right, as soon as he gets a majority of whatever, they're in, and we don't reveal a number. As soon as he gets that majority, you're in. Right? So 75% threshold. All right, 75. As soon as he gets 75%, boom, you're in.
Yeah,
We're done. Don't have to worry about it.
Here's the highest ever. Mariano, 100%. Jeter and Suzuki both were 1 vote shy of unanimous.
Right.
Griffey, as Brent said, was 3 votes shy. Tom Seaver, 5 votes shy. Then Nolan Ryan, then Cal Ripken Jr. Those are your top 7 all-time highest Baseball Hall of Fame voting percentages. All right, I want to go back to the phones. People have been very patient here. 877-767-4760. Let's start, Brent, with line 5. Line 5 and Benjamin. He wanted to weigh in, I think, on Michael King. Benjamin, thanks for the patience, and you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hi, Jon and Jim. I dislike arbitration fights, and with Michael King having a under 3 ERA and a 201 strikeouts last year. Why don't teams sign long-term deals with players they want to keep? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they fight over $1 million here or $1 million there, yet they get into arbitration, and when free agency comes next year, they're not going to. They may not want to stay with the team.
Benjamin, thank you.
I think a lot of it has to do with like comp. Like there's not a real good comp right now for Michael King, because I was listening to part of his conversation on YouTube, and for the players that he's being comped to, it's like they have like 400 more innings pitched than him. And Michael King's only been a starter for 1 year, and he's going into his final year of arbitration before he becomes a free agent. I don't know. I don't care. Just get it done. Get him locked up. Don't go to arbitration, or else this will go on inside their bros. And better yet, sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, I only care because I hope it doesn't impact their ability to keep him here. Right. I'm with you. I don't care unless we all care, because Michael King isn't here beyond 2025. Let's go back to the phones. 877-767-4760. What are you laughing at?
Love it. Never mind.
All right, let's go to Greg on line 3. Greg, appreciate you. You're back on with Jon and Jim.
Hey guys. I was just going to discuss about the deferment payments.
Yeah.
They still have to. The teams actually still have to put that money away each and every year.
Right.
I mean, if you're like, oh hey, let the next ownership take it. Well, that's not how it works. Like, if you've got a guy who's going to make $20 million for the year, the team has to have that $20 million and show that they have it, and then put it in some sort of an account, obviously to be deferred later. So, I guess my point being is, even though the payment doesn't take place right then and there, it's that money still has to be available to be put away.
Right, and
you're still getting hit with it.
Right, and that's why a lot of teams can't do that, because they're not like the Dodgers, and they don't
have like the equity.
They don't have the equity, but also too, the player has to want to do it. Manny has to want to defer a bunch of money. Now, there is some deferrals in his contract, but not to the level of Shohei Ohtani.
And deferral has kind of become the in vogue thing, kind of post Manny. Like a lot of this has happened in the last 5 years. This $1.3 billion that the Dodgers have deferred, most of this has happened within the last 5 years. So, and I'm with you. It's like, honestly, like, look at Tom Brady. Why was he taking less money? He wanted to win. Or look at a Manny Machado. I think it's a good point. I mean, if you're willing to defer, it puts your organization in a better spot. Now, to Manny's credit, he makes less money when he was younger. That gave them more payroll flexibility. He's making more money when he's older. But I'm not going to put this on Manny. I'm going to put this on the organization. It's not Manny's fault he's making this money.
No.
It's not Manny's fault he's not deferring.
Yeah.
It's really not.
If you're going to put a $350 million contract in front of me,
I'm taking it too, man.
I'm gone.
I'm not deferring with it. Like, if iHeart's giving me $350 million, I want it now. I want it 2050.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't even offer me $350 million, which I thought was a joke. All right, back to the phones.
They didn't even offer me $350.
It's a joke. Yeah, exactly. 877-767-4760. Let's go to David on line 2. David, thanks for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
You guys can hear me?
We can.
Gotcha.
All right. So thanks again for having me. Just wanted to say a couple things real quick. Let's lead off with the Hall of Fame talk. Like, it's amazing. Like, some of these guys actually can fill out these ballots and say, oh, yeah, Ichiro was in the Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. was in the Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah, Tony Gwynn was in the Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah, Greg Max was in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's just unbelievable to me. Like, all these guys trying to, like, make a statement or something. I think that's dumb. But the main thing I want to talk about is the whole Padres, how they're going to do this with the Dodgers thing. I'll just say this. Like, everyone's crowning the Dodgers, and I kind of talked about this on Friday when I called in. And I wanted to add to it because on Saturday there was an interesting article on MLB.com about how, oh, well, yes, they look really good, but they're not unstoppable. Said kind of the things I said. Mentioned a couple things I found interesting. The durability of their starters, not great. I mean, they mentioned how the only innings the time Snell's pitched 140 innings or his 2 Cy Young seasons. Mentioned that Glasnow hasn't done it, Roki hasn't done it, etc. So I thought, that was interesting because I looked at their 2022 team that won 111 games, and they had 2 guys pitch over 170 innings on those teams. So I don't know about the durability of their starters. So, like, are they better on paper than 22 a little bit? Probably, but I think they have I'm not sure they're even better than 22. And like I said on Friday, we beat them in the division series that year without Tatis. So I say get Profar, get a catcher, get another pitcher, and play ball and bring it on.
Thank you, David. I mean, the point's valid. They haven't won anything in 2025. I mean, they were going to have to go do it on field. They're going to have to avoid injury, and they're going to have to outplay teams in the postseason. They're in the postseason. Just put them there. But there's no assurance they're going to win the World Series. But it's kind of like, I mean, they got everything they need. It's like saying, hey, I've got the nicest car, but I need to put gas in it. I mean, they have everything. Maybe they don't have everything, but they have everything.
Like, to his point, and I agree, like, yeah, on paper, they're unmatched. Right. It is, on paper, they should win 120 games. Seriously. Right. But in your rotation next year, you have a guy, guess how many innings Tyler Glasnow threw last year? Because he, right now, on paper, had the most innings pitched of any player in that rotation coming into this year.
109.
134. 22 starts, 134 innings. That's the most out of all their pitchers now on their rotation. Sasaki obviously hasn't thrown one pitch. Yamamoto was around 100. Ohtani was hurt.
Flaherty
and Snell only pitched. Let me check here. I think Blake Snell last year didn't even crack. What did he get? He got 104 last year. So you have a rotation with a guy that threw 134 innings, got hurt at the end of the year, a guy that threw 104 innings, got hurt in the year, had another guy that comes off Tommy John, another guy that was hurt in the year and threw only 101 innings, and another guy that's never thrown a pitch in the big leagues in Roki Sasaki. So, look, you do have a rotation on paper. The names, they're massive, and if they all pitch 150 innings plus, oh my God, but that's not happening. You have a rotation that take away the names, and you just put up the stats, and you say, all right, this guy just came off Tommy John. This guy's never pitched in the big leagues before. This guy only pitched 100 innings last year. This guy got 134 innings, but he ended his season on the IL. And this guy only pitched 104 innings. You would say on paper, without the names, like the blind resume, you'd be like, that's not great.
Yeah, but they're going to use, here's the thing. They're going to use 6 or 7 or 8 starters.
Right.
And their goal going into the year is to keep everyone probably around 135.
Yeah.
They're not going to try to stretch anyone out.
And you have Dustin May, another guy that's coming off of injury, and Kershaw coming off of injury.
They have more than enough in it. I just did the math. 134 innings times 6 is over 800 innings. There's 1,400 innings roughly in a season.
Mm-hmm.
They got more than enough. They got more, and they're going to pitch more than 6 starters by design.
And JD's third in the chat makes a good point. Like they had 2 pitchers last year in the postseason, and they won the World Series still.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series. I just think they have more than enough starting pitching, even if these guys only throw 125 innings each.
And they got a loaded up bullpen now with Scott and Kirby Yates. They re-signed Blake Trinan. Like, Gradwell's going to come back from injury last year.
They don't have Tyler Wade.
They do not have Tyler Wade, the secret weapon.
Who the Padres have.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to more calls on the other side. Plus, we have Aztec basketball tickets for a week from tonight against San Jose State. We're giving away up next. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network will join us at 4:30. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
A SIG alert still in effect in Mission Valley, north and southbound 163. The off-ramps to Friars Road are shut down until further notice due to a fire in that area. Traffic's going to be heavy on the South 163 as you head from Kearney Mesa down into Mission Valley. I'm Darren Edwards with a look at San Diego traffic.
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in term life. Industry rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man aged 45, non-smoker, can get $1 million of coverage for $75 per month, level rate for 10 years. Or a man aged 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110, level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote today. 800-200-2250. That's 800-200-2250. Don't wait. Call 800-200-2250. 800-200-2250. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Don't skip out on OG's this new year. They've added delicious and healthy new items like the refreshing beet salad and the delicious Mediterranean salmon bowl. OG's has it all. And don't forget, OG's is the place to catch the exciting playoff action and the big game. Come in and enjoy your favorite pizza and a brew, or schedule your big game catering order ahead of time and enjoy all your OG's favorites from your home. Whatever you want, OG's has got you covered. Find your nearest location at OG's.com.
If you've been affected by the wildfires, you have urgent questions. We have vital information. We're Justice HQ, a community of approved lawyers who are volunteering our time to help fire victims. We'll discuss your needs and explain your rights, free of charge. Go to justicehq.com/firehelp.
Hey there, Aztec fans. Your San Diego State women's basketball team will be facing off against UNLV on Saturday, January 25th at 1 p.m., live from Viejas Arena. Be one of the first 1,000 fans in attendance and get a free replica basketball jersey. Tickets are available starting at just $6. To purchase your tickets, simply visit goaztecs.com. Again, that's goaztecs.com. And we'll see you on January 25th for Aztec women's basketball. And go Aztecs! More information about contests on this station, go to sportssd.com/rules.
News trending now on AM 600 Kogo.
I'm Cliff Albert in the Kogo News Center. The red flag fire warning ends tonight, but a fire weather watch starts tomorrow. Strong wind gusts across the county up to 100 miles per hour inland. And nearly 17,000 SDG&E customers without power because of the fire weather conditions.
These stories and more on San Diego's News Radio 600 Kogo and Kogo.com. Brought to you by San Diego County Credit Union.
Experience better banking with SDCCU. Open a free checking with eStatements account and bank on the go. Check balances, deposit checks, pay bills, and more just about anywhere through your smartphone 24/7. Messages and data rates may apply. Visit SDCCU.com. That's SDCCU.com.
This is
We do have Is That Good, the best and worst of the sports weekend to get to, but I do want to go back to the phones if you want to weigh in on the Padres. 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. By the way, don't go anywhere. In the next 3 to 7 minutes, we'll give away Aztec tickets for a week from tonight against San Jose State. But let's go to Joe on line 6. Joe, thanks for the patience. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
What's up, Joe?
Good. Hey, I'm calling. Born and raised San Diego fan, and Padres through and through from Jack Murphy Stadium, Qualcomm, all through that. I got to say, man, we talk about the Dodgers quite a bit. Yeah, they made a lot of moves, but we still have some very good arm power. We got Michael King. We got Tatis, Machado on defense. I really believe we're putting a lot of stock in what the Dodgers are doing. We really don't know what's going to happen next year or the years following. Injuries happen, trades happen, things fall apart. We just got to quit talking about those Dodgers, man. I don't know if it's just me, but I see a lot of Friar faithful going in on what they're doing. But we got to be about what we're doing if we're going to get to where we eventually want to go.
Thank you,
That's
Joe.
my take.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Joe.
you, man.
I agree with that from a standpoint of we got to worry about ourselves, and by ourselves, I mean the Padres have to worry about themselves, and they got to figure out how to make their team better. But they haven't done anything to make their team better yet. And in correlation, right across the street from you, that house has added a new pool, and when they've already had a pool, and then a basketball court, when they already had like a tennis court, and then like a giant football field, and they had already
putting
like
a 3-car garage in.
yeah,
And,
it's like they're doing all this stuff, and your house is still good across the street, but you've done nothing to upgrade it. If anything, you've added money to a payroll that it won't show up because it's like you're just adding through arbitration stuff, and it does affect you because you have to go directly through the Dodgers for whatever you do. Eventually, at some point, not in the division, but in the postseason, you will have to go right through the Dodgers.
Well, it's like the theory of like, don't compare. It is true. In theory, you shouldn't compare yourself to others, but we're all human beings. So you go to the gym and you see the guy lifting more than you. You see the guy running faster than you, or you see the guy that's in shape more than you are. Like, it's just a natural thing. I've made this point a lot. If you're going to compare yourself to the Dodgers, you're going to come up short a lot. Like, just that one-for-one comp. It's like you go to the gym and you see like the 22-year-old dude that's jacked. Well, we're like 45 and out of shape. So the Dodgers on paper are always going to look better than the Padres. But again, you get on field and things happen. I was here for 2022. We were there.
Yeah.
We were there in 2024. They led the series 2-1. Now, they didn't finish it off. So I think the point's valid. I don't think the Dodgers have won the World Series. I just think they've given themselves a chance to win the World Series more so than the San Diego Padres based on their moves.
And I would love to sit here and talk about new players the Padres have signed and moves that they've made to hopefully, make this team better, and players that they hopefully will resign, and looking at their outlooks for that contract, and if that contract makes sense, and do you like that move and whatnot. But like, I mean, to Joe's point, like, yeah, I would love to do that, but they haven't done anything. And I know that in contrast to last year, they didn't do much either, and the offseason was not good. I mean, the offseason might have been worse last year if you want to really like dive into it.
Yeah, they traded Juan Soto.
And Peter passed away, and they signed a couple of relievers that turned out to be nothing. Like Yuki Matsui was fine. Wandy Peralta sucked, and Woo Suk Go lasted half a season, if that. And then up until the Profar signing and the Dylan Cease trade and the Luis Suarez trade in season. But I mean, at this point last year, the offseason was very bleak, other than the Juan Soto trade, where we're sitting here saying, are these guys going to be good, or did they just trade away a Hall of Famer for a bunch of nothing?
Well, do we try? Okay, so let's just the glass half full side of this. I mean, do we trust in Preller, Schilt, Clubhouse that they can replicate what they did? I mean, it's not like this roster has changed so drastically with everything that we know. Yes, Profar's not here. Yes,
Musgrove's going to be out for the year.
Yes, true. So like, but has it changed so drastically where they can't get close to doing what they did a year ago? Or can they get close to doing what they did a year ago if you trust in Preller, Schilt, and the 26-man roster, the Machados, the Tatises, the Kings, the Darvishes?
Look, I laid it out on the wrap-up show, I think last week. If, you go into a season and they don't really make any sizable moves, they make maybe one or two other moves, right? You're going to have Michael King and Dylan Cease on this roster. You have two frontline starters in King and Cease. You have a guy that finished top 4 in Cy Young and a guy that struck out 14 in his first ever postseason start in Michael King, sub-3 ERA. Those two guys alone, added with a healthy Yu Darvish, if he can, stay with the team the entire year. I know that he dealt with stuff last year, but like those top 3 right there, very, very good. Then you have, what can Jackson Merrill do in his sophomore season? Can he replicate that? Or hell, can he get better than that? Can Fernando Tatis Jr. stay healthy for an entire year? And if he can he put up 40 home runs like he did in 2021? Can Manny Machado have a full season like he did last half of the season? He's going to probably get his numbers of 30 and 100 and hitting 270 to 280 with an 820 OPS. And then the big question mark, can Xander Bogaerts actually perform this year, or is he going to be another black hole in that lineup and that contract being awful?
Can I hit 6 of 7 Powerball numbers?
True.
Because it's $1 million, I think, if you do, or whatever it is. Right?
I get
Even
it.
without it's a lot. Now, again, maybe you have someone else overperform. Again, it feels to me right now like 93 is an extreme reach. This was their regular season win total.
But
Not
85
that they have to get there.
feels kind of reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's reasonable that they can get to the postseason. Nobody's saying they can't get to the postseason, but it does feel as if it might not be the easiest thing in the world either. I could be convinced either way right now if the Padres are a playoff team or not a playoff team.
But the big problem is if you are not going to resign Profar, you have just lost all that production and left. And I'm not going to say they got lucky last year, but luck plays a factor into winning a bunch of baseball games.
Sure.
And you replaced the Juan Soto production with almost the same production the following year for $1 million.
Just do that again.
How are you going to replace that? Because everything I said, if those things happen, that's great. But you're still missing the production in left field. You still don't have a catcher that can hit you 18 home runs, and you need another starter that can give you innings and put up some quality starts when you don't know if you have that.
2 words, Tyler Wade. All right, call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs in San Jose State a week from tonight at Viejas Arena, where the first 5,000 fans get replica jerseys at Viejas. This coming off the Brian Dutcher bobblehead game. First 5,000 fans get replica jerseys. Caller 7, you're going a week from tonight. San Diego State, San Jose State, Viejas Arena, 877-767-4760. Caller 7, you're going. First 5,000 fans get replica jerseys. We have a pair of tickets to caller 7 right now. 877-767-4760. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network will join us at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim. Homeowners, it's time to start fresh in 2025. Hey, guys, it's Shay.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with baseball news. 3 new members of the Hall of Fame being announced today. Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki are all Hall of Fame members of the 2025 class. What are you doing? San Diego State.
I'm showing the YouTube chat my Luna Grill.
Nobody cares.
Just playing. Yeah, they actually do because that's what I'm eating.
San Diego State coming off another home loss to UNLV this past weekend. We'll take on Air Force tomorrow night, 7 p.m. tip. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Other baseball news. Dodgers continue to sign players. They signed Tanner Scott over the weekend. Today they signed Kirby Yates. NFL news. Today, Kevin O'Connell gets a contract extension from the Minnesota Vikings. In San Diego FC news, they signed San Diego native Luca De La Torre on loan from Celta Vigo the 2025 season. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
One of the tweets that I saw regarding the Sasaki signing that blew me away came from Buster Olney.
Because Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers, he set the stage for this. Like, wait, what?
Wrong. Try again, dumbass.
It was the dumbest tweet.
I hate when people correlate something that has no correlation.
Jackie Robinson has nothing to do with Roki Sasaki's decision.
The reason why he signed with the Dodgers was because of the history with the Dodgers and Jackie Robinson.
And then people were quote tweeting this, Brandon, being like, now I know why he didn't go to the Royals.
Yeah, he didn't go to the Royals.
They didn't have Jackie Robinson.
They didn't have Jackie Robinson.
You got to be one of the dumbest looking apes I ever saw.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We do have a great giveaway for you this hour. We've got a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse for San Diego Restaurant Week. How much is that for? Do we know how much that gift card is for?
50, I think.
All right, $50 to Morton's Steakhouse.
You can buy a nice 7-ounce steak.
Enjoy your water.
Yeah. Enjoy your potato gratin.
No, this place is unbelievable if you eat meat. Brent's been.
I know.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right.
Gets you a shrimp cocktail.
It's like the best food I've ever had. Lobster mac and cheese.
You can bring Brent with the gift card. So we'll give away that gift card this hour. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network, grew up a Lions fan in Michigan. You may have seen what happened.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they were awful.
They were bad.
Their defense was horrific.
Yeah.
And they lost the game.
And Ben Johnson just went full YOLO mode because he knew he was
He's
leaving.
like, Peace,
He's like, I'm leaving. Jameson Williams, throw a pass. Like I don't care anymore.
Dude. So Cynthia Freeland will join us coming up at 4:30. Again, we've got the Morton's gift card to give away. We'll get back to the Padres, of course, over the next 2 hours as we're here until 6 p.m. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Speaking of Ben Johnson, will he lead the Bears to the playoffs next year?
I told Brent he's going to win 50 games for him next season. It's like a new NFL record.
50?
Yeah, 50.
Wow. That's huge.
I mean, if you're a Bears fan, from the options that were out there, he is the hot guy, as Marty would say all the time, like the hot guy.
Who was the other option? Eddie George or something?
Or Mike McCarthy.
I think this is amazing.
Yeah, I think you got to be thrilled if you're a Bears fan. Now, it could backfire. I mean, Brent is very worried that it will backfire. But I think to start on, yeah, you get the number one offensive coordinator on the market, and the key here, offensive-minded guy. If they hired a defensive coordinator or a special teams guy or like Eddie George, that'd have been a disaster. I think Ben Johnson's, going to be the right fit there.
Listen to this. Okay, this is the Detroit Lions. All right, they're like the Cleveland Browns historically.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions in offense. 3 years ago, 5th in points. 2 years ago, 5th in points. This year, 1st in points. Yardage, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Like, it speaks for itself. This is the Detroit Lions we're talking about with a premier offense. You just drafted Caleb Williams. Go score points. Go improve your offense. I know they play outside. I know the offense in Chicago historically is awful. But even if you could take one of the worst offenses in the sport to a middling offense, the proof's in the pudding. They've had a top 5 offense in the sport for 3 consecutive years. That alone, I think, should make it a good hire.
Brent's not excited, though.
Not
Brent,
really.
What would make you excited? What would make you excited?
Yeah, what would it made you like, yes?
If they would have hired Jim Harbaugh last year when they should have, and he was available, that would have got me excited. I'm just worried because, like you brought up that, the quote hot guy, how many of those hot guys, flamed out and just became nothing, Charlie Weiss was going to be a next big head coach. Josh McDaniels, remember, he was going to be the next big head coach. And who did he get the Patriots job today? Oh no, they hired him as the offensive coordinator.
You know who was going to be the next big head coach? Sean McVay. You know who's going to be the next big head coach? Kevin O'Connell.
And Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, those are three. So,
two out of those three worked out.
You're right. I mean, there's a yin to a yang. It doesn't always work.
Just with our luck, it's going to be more on the Josh McDaniels end and not so much the Sean McVay end.
But they can score points, right? He can call offense.
Should have drafted Jaden Daniels, though.
We don't know that. Maybe it's all the coordinator.
I'm kidding.
We don't know that. Next question.
Traded him for a whole bunch of picks. Which road team has a better chance of winning on Sunday?
I will go with the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if the Commanders are going to go into the link and beat the Eagles, because the Eagles, what they're going to do is they're going to try to run it down their throat. And they're not going to try to get in a shootout. And they have a much better defense than the Detroit Lions. First in scoring defense. A lot. Yes. But if the Bills don't beat the Chiefs on Sunday, I mean, it's just three-peat. They're going to win. Like, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
If they go to the Super Bowl. That's it. It's going to be a fait accompli. It's going to happen. So the Bills are like our last hope here to end this stupid dynasty.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the way the Commanders beat the Eagles, it was only a few weeks ago. It was in D.C., and it had to be a shootout. Remember, they had a huge fourth quarter. They won 36-33. They scored 22 points.
Did Jalen Hurts play in that game?
And no, it was Kenny Pickett at the start of that game.
Right.
So, and now listen, Jaden Daniels has been historically good. There's never been a rookie starter in a Super Bowl. Think about that. There's never been a rookie starting quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's outside the realm. I think it should be a good game. The teams know each other, but I'm with you. I'm leaning Eagles there, which means, again, the Chiefs have been in close games. The Bills have been waiting for this moment again. So, yeah, if I had to pick between the two options, I would choose Buffalo over Washington. Next question.
If Allen can't get it done this time, is his head just going to be totally screwed up forever?
It's a fair point.
I mean, the game against the Ravens, I mean, look at his box score, the stats, like, they weren't good. Like, he went full game manager mode.
Dude, they got so lucky.
They got very lucky.
All the turnovers and then the missed conversion. I mean, how lucky did they get?
They played very conservative.
Yeah.
Like,
they easily could have lost the game.
Yeah.
They were -3 in turnovers and in a tie game.
Yeah. And I think,
they were plus.
What did he have in the game? Like 130 yards passing?
No, he ran it well.
Yeah.
They turned to him a lot on the ground like they always do.
But they also, I think in the second half, they didn't do anything.
They just held on for dear life.
They did. They just held the ball, and they got lucky at the end that Mark Andrews, decided to turn into like you.
I would have called that.
That's
a 1 in 1,000 for him. It's a 1 in 1,000.
But then he has the fumble there.
That was awful.
And then the two awful turnovers by Lamar.
The one turnover from Lamar was so egregious. When he's trying to make a play,
too
just
much,
go
yeah.
down, man. You're like your 10th year, not really.
Yeah.
But go down. What are you trying to do? He's always trying to do too much in those big moments.
Do you think the Ravens have a better shot at beating the Chiefs than the Bills?
I loved the Ravens going into that game. But
Me too.
I mean, I don't know.
I thought that the Ravens were going to go into
I was
Arrowhead
not
and
impressed
win.
by the Bills.
I wasn't either.
But it maybe been waiting for this moment, and the Chiefs haven't been crazy impressive. I think it's going to be a great game, and the Chiefs will win.
Oh, yeah, of course they're going to win.
Next
Anybody
question.
betting against the Chiefs, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Who's going to have a bigger impact on the Dodgers next season, Tanner Scott or Roki?
Tanner Scott, no doubt.
I don't think it's going to be close.
Not even close.
I don't think it's close. I think Tanner Scott's going to be closing games left and right.
Tanner Scott's going to be an all-star next year. He's going to have 30-plus saves unless they go committee with him.
I think they will.
Trinan and Kirby.
Yeah, I think they will.
But, I mean, Tanner Scott, what we saw here in San Diego, guy was nails, lights out. He is the ultimate weapon against lefties. And, the great part is they took a guy that made Shohei look and really bad in the postseason, and they
away.
added him to their roster, so they have to deal with that anymore.
When you have 120 ninth inning leads, you need 3 closers because they expect to have 120 leads in the ninth inning this year. Would be my guess. That's their or at least 110. So you need 3 closers. I think Tanner Scott is a huge acquisition, and specifically for the postseason. Next question.
Would you rather be Ohio State or Michigan this season?
Dude, that is such a great question. I mean, I would want to win the national championship, but the more I hear, like, from people that are diehard Ohio State fans and diehard Michigan fans, the national championship is great, but it will always be followed by, but you lost to Michigan. You won the national title this year, but you lost to Michigan. Every single one of those players on the Ohio State team, not one of them in their entire careers at Ohio State have beaten Michigan. Not one.
Yeah, some of them are 0 for 4. But still, at the end of the day, let's be honest. You want 7-5 Michigan playing in the Citrus Bowl, or you want Ohio State rattling off 4 wins in a row in the college football playoff, getting rings, getting titles. I'm taking Ohio State. I get it. They lost their rival. People wanted Ryan Day out. But he's getting the last laugh.
Yeah, but I still think you can't get the laugh over Michigan because you didn't beat them.
Yeah.
And Michigan won a national title last year while beating you and having an undefeated season.
Yeah, now which was the better season?
Last year.
Yeah, last year's Michigan team was better. I mean, Ohio State lost twice.
Because Ohio State finished 3rd in the Big Ten. Last year was like the perfect season. You win your conference, you win the Big Ten, you beat Ohio State, and you win the Natty. Like, doesn't get much better than that.
No, I agree. Ohio State had 2 losses this year, but they also won 4 consecutive playoff games dominantly.
They did.
And will be remembered as the national champions.
Yeah, they will. And there's no asterisk here at all. There is just a perception about their national title.
There's a Michigan asterisk.
Yeah,
Can't be in Michigan.
If you talk to every single Michigan fan, guarantee you they will say, yeah, it doesn't really mean that much to me. Like they're not upset that Ohio State won it. They might be a little upset, but they will hold over Ohio State for the rest of their lives this year that you lost to Michigan and you haven't beaten them in 4 years.
Yeah, but even if it bothers them, they're not going to say it bothers them because they're not going to give Ohio State the satisfaction of letting them know that they got to them.
And also, too, if you're an Ohio State player and if you're an alum and you're a fan of them, like, don't you think there's that little piece in the back of your mind forever that's like, man, if only we beat Michigan, then this year would have been absolutely perfect.
Maybe. It is amazing that the best rivalry in college sports, Michigan, Ohio State, those are the last 2 champs.
Mm-hmm.
And all this SEC, SEC, it just means more. Last 2 years are Big Ten schools, back-to-back years.
Yeah.
All right, on the other side, we'll get to Is That Good, the best and worst of the sports weekend. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network on the divisional round, looking ahead to championship weekend. She'll join us at 4:30 here on Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is
At 4:30, looking back at divisional round football, getting us ready for championship weekend. Then we've got that Morton's gift card to give away, Trainwreck Radio trivia. Coming up later this hour, we are here until 6 p.m. tonight, Jim. Did you realize that? All the way till 6.
Whoa.
4-hour show.
I mean, did something change?
Well, I mean, we could be airing Tennessee, Mississippi State, for example.
You would love
men's
that.
college basketball.
You're probably dialed into this game right now, right?
I don't know why we're not airing Tuesday Night Football tonight.
Tuesday Night Football.
Because there isn't any, but
There
we're
is
here
none,
until
no.
6 p.m. All right. We typically do Is That Good on Mondays, but we didn't have a show on Mondays, so we can get to Is That Good right now.
Is that good?
Wilcox, snapper, Huber, holder, from 29 yards away. Oh, he missed it badly. Kick on the way. Boswell. That's a winner.
The good and bad from the sports weekend.
We just talked about it, but, Mark Andrews picked a really bad time to have a really bad game. The drop at the goal line that was right between the numbers in his hands, the 2-point conversion that wasn't, and then the fumble earlier in that game. That was in the second half, I believe.
It was in the second half, yeah.
Man, is that good?
No.
I
don't think so.
No, he's not good. Are you kidding me?
Dude,
That's
how do you ever sleep?
Oh, I don't.
I'm not sleeping.
I'm retiring.
Melatonin.
I'm done.
Even melatonin, dude. Your mind
Lots
is
of it.
racing for forever.
Little
And then all of a
gummies.
sudden, gets your. By the way, he had 2 drops this year. He had 2 drops. I think that was one of 2 drops. Might have been. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, my first one.
Real quick, it was nice to see Lamar and them not throw him under the bus, even though the media kept trying to set them up to throw him under the bus. And they're like, no, we're not
Well,
doing
who was
that.
Lamar to throw him under the bus?
Yeah, exactly.
Saquon Barkley, historically good. 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.9 yards per carry against the Rams. Earlier this year in LA, like 6 weeks ago, 26 for 255. He's read for nearly 500 yards in 2 games against the Rams. He's got the 5th most rushing yards a player's ever had in a regular season and postseason. It might be 4th, actually. Anyway, is that good?
It is good.
Dude is on a historic binge.
He's on a heater.
When he breaks loose, you're just like, home run. Gone. See you later.
That's the way that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl potentially, is because of Saquon.
He stays hot.
If a game turns into a shootout with Jalen Hurts having to throw for like 350 yards, not happening. Can't happen. You need Saquon to run the ball effectively, and if he does, Eagles have a really good chance to win.
By the way, I thought Jalen Hurts, and I know he got hurt there late, I thought he looked awful.
He has looked awful.
So that's the one reason why everyone's like, well, Commanders, rookie quarterback, run the ball, Eagles. Jalen Hurts, man, you got to do more than he did against the Rams.
Yep.
I think so.
You got to do a lot more against them. If they are lucky enough to go to the Super Bowl,
you're going to have to do more again.
Yeah, but again, that team will ride on Saquon's back there. Jared Goff, again, another player who picked a bad time to have a really bad game. 3 interceptions, 1 return for a pick 6. He did not look good in that game. Some of his interceptions that he had were like, huh? I mean, I loved the Lions and I wanted them to win so bad, but they looked awful on Saturday. Even though they put up 31 points, they looked awful. Brent, is that good?
No, he's not good. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, look at this right here. You got Jared Goff. David Montgomery threw a pass. Teddy Bridgewater was in there because Goff was injured. Jameson Williams threw a pass. Like, huh?
They were -5 in turnovers. You're not beating me. -5 in turnovers.
That's one of those things too, where all year everyone's just like, "Oh, well, what's going to cost Detroit is Ben Johnson's go for it on 4th down thing is going to come back." But
Dan
no one
Campbell.
yeah, that's what I meant. But nobody brought up the fact that Goff threw like 5 interceptions, like twice this season in a game.
He did have that one other game,
and they still won. So, he has games like this.
Yeah, not a good time to have one.
No.
All right, last night for Ohio State, their starting quarterback who bounced around, Will Howard, was at Kansas State last year, 17 of 21, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, massive late throw to secure the win, and a national championship for the Buckeyes over the Irish. Is that good?
It is good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. Finally, San Diego State. Yeah, losing to UNLV on Saturday. It's their second home loss in the last 3 games at Viejas, if I'm not mistaken. Utah State, and then this past weekend in UNLV. Brent, is that good?
No, it's no good. Are you
They gotta
kidding me?
protect home court, and it's
Third home loss of the year.
Yeah,
which is
Gonzaga.
a rarity. Yeah. I mean, listen, their margin has basically evaporated, so they're going to have to be good. They got 13 regular season games remaining. They don't have to be perfect, but they're going to have to be very good, and that includes tomorrow night on the road against the Air Force Academy. It is a true must-win. They cannot lose on the road to the Air Force Academy. My final one is Kevin O'Connell. Aztec for Life got a multi-year extension today from the Vikings. Is that good?
It is good.
Well-deserved. Great regular season. Yeah, not a great postseason. That one game, obviously, in Phoenix or in Arizona. But Kevin O'Connell has really done amazing work. These last 2 years, 2 different starting quarterbacks. He's probably going to have another starting quarterback next year.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold's going to play with the Raiders next year, probably.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be unbelievable. All right, on the other side, Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network, her take on the divisional round of the postseason. Then coming up later this hour, your chance to win a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse for San Diego Restaurant Week, which is coming up late January, early February. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with baseball news. The newest members of the Hall of Fame today for the 2025 class announced Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki, all Hall of Famers. for the 2025 baseball class. Moving over to Aztecs. They lost to UNLV over the weekend. They'll take on Air Force tomorrow night, 7 p.m. tip. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Dodgers continue to make moves. They signed Kirby Yates today to a 1-year deal. And Kevin O'Connell got a new contract extension from the Minnesota Vikings. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, so I'll be honest. The first person I thought about when the Lions were kind of destined there at the end to lose, it wasn't the city of Detroit or Ben Johnson or Dan Campbell or Jared Goff. I thought of Cynthia Freeland.
Not the players.
Yeah,
but...
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
or all their fans who spend all of their money and time on this team. But I saw the tweet from Cynthia, who's back with us on Jon and Jim. Fan moment, I am unwell.
Yeah.
So here we are a couple days later. Are you better is it one of those games, Cynthia, where
it's gonna take a while to get over?
Yeah, like you put your head down on the pillow and it's just kind of racing through your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. After last season, where you're in the NFC Championship game and they make it all the way to the end, and then heartbreak, that was worse. So at least this one was kind of not over, but it didn't feel like. I mean, I thought that the Lions had won that NFC Championship game last season. I mean, 17 points is quite a bit, and I was wrong. So yeah, at least it's not that. It's a bummer to see. I think both coordinators will go. Obviously, Ben Johnson's already gone, but it's a bummer to see the band kind of breaking up. But the flip side is there's a lot of returning players, so that is a very promising thing going forward. I just it stinks. It's hard to get there, but I am more happy that I got a chance to see them be the number 1 seed ever in my life. That's never happened. So it breaks your heart, but at least it's not the NFC Championship game where you're winning at the half.
Or the Super Bowl when you're leading by 10 points and you lose into overtime. Oh wait, that happened.
That's happened twice.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about
that's happened 2 times, right? The last 2 times the Niners were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, must be
not great. You just mentioned
not a great feeling.
You mentioned it, Cynthia. So what will they do? I mean, at coordinator, can it be run back when you have that much change from a coordinator perspective? Do you envision them having the same amount of regular season success moving forward, or is this only going to get harder?
No, I mean, look, to win the division, or to win the whole conference is very difficult. Yeah. To win the division should always be the goal every year. And while I don't think it will be easy, I still think that you got some question marks with Minnesota at the quarterback position, right? What are they going to do with Sam Darnold if it is a rookie, or I guess he won't be a rookie, but he'll effectively be a rookie with JJ McCarthy. There's going to be a learning curve. And then, obviously, I don't know what's going on with the Bears. I still think, unless they significantly improve their O-line, I don't really care who they have at quarterback. It's going to be very difficult. And then, the Packers are the Packers, right? They're always going to be tough. So I don't even know if they'll be able to win the division, but I do think that they'll be a strong contender. And I think the playoffs are a very realistic estimate, but I don't know about, I wouldn't say oh yeah, the division's within reach. Nope. Let's move them to the South, and maybe that's the case, but not in the South.
Yeah, staying with that game and moving over to the Washington side of things and Jaden Daniels, is it right of us to say, and I see this narrative out there, best rookie season ever or best rookie ever? I'm not saying he's going to be the best player ever, but just he's having the best rookie season ever. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there's so many ways that you could say that that's true, right? There's so many ways to quantify that. I think, making it to an NFC Championship game, no matter what the outcome is, and, I know if you're a Washington fan, you're like, nah, it's going to be bad. We want to go all the way now. We've come so far. But I don't think anyone expected this. I feel like everyone probably thinks they're playing with house money. So, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty impressive, especially because as much as their defense has looked better, I still don't think this is not a top 20 defense. This is, bottom third of the league, bottom quarter of the league, even potentially in defense. So to be able to do that with this defense is incredible and very, very special. So absolutely. And they don't have a great O-line. It's all right. It's not as bad as the Bears, but it's not like some outstanding, he's not standing back there back in the day, Cowboys O-lines used to be. So no. He's doing a really, really, really amazing thing.
Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network is with us right now on Jon and Jim. So we're all watching this Buffalo-Baltimore game play out. What do you think? Like, is it Baltimore losing the game? Is it Buffalo winning the game? Like, what do you think about the way that game played out?
This ish happens, right? Like,
Yep.
You're not going to always catch the ball. You're going to have some drops. Like, it's part of the game. When you get this far along and you're playing against Josh Allen and it's freezing cold, I don't think anyone would have expected Mark Andrews, who, by the way, they wouldn't have been there without him. He had a great season. It was a bad game. It stinks that that's like the last memory. He doesn't get a game to get the next one back. I don't think, this was not it kind of was Baltimore losing it. I think it was a very evenly matched. Like, if you would have those turnovers back, it would be very different, but turnovers are killer. And that's what it's going to come down to again this week.
What did you think of how the Bills played? Because, looking at the final numbers, you can look at numbers and that's great, but you have to watch the game. But watching that game, Cynthia, it felt like they were just trying not to lose. And I mean, they didn't lose, but what did you think of how the Bills played?
Well, you have to look at also what happened in the course of the game. I mean, Christian Bedford and, being and Taylor Rapp not finishing the game, that is dicey. And that's going to be very difficult. So, yeah, I think they started off playing much looser. I thought the beginning of the game plan to start the game was what I was kind of expecting. And then they certainly got conservative, like very conservative pretty quickly. So I agree. But I also think that, you have to consider what they were playing with on the back end of that defense. And it's not like their pass defense is something where you're like, hey, that back end of that defense is incredible. I mean, they have some good pieces, but it's not the strongest defense in the field.
Cynthia Freeland is with us. So can the Eagles, again, like all these teams, they're 2 wins away from winning a Super Bowl, and they've won at a really high clip, obviously, the last 4 or 5 years. But can they win a Super Bowl if we don't know about the health of Hurts, or if he doesn't do more either this upcoming Sunday, or even if they win that game against the Kansas City or Buffalo? Like, is he going to have to do more than what he has shown so far in the postseason?
I don't know, because unless you're telling me something's going to, knock on wood, like happen to Saquon Barkley, I think he's doing enough. I don't think he has to do that much, because when you get an O-line that gives you that much help, like he's been given, and you can manage, and I know people don't like a game manager. I don't know what that means. I think everyone's a game manager until they're not, right? Like, there's very few people I would argue are not game managers. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, as long as he can keep the ball from being turned over and can get the at least intermediate stuff out every so often, they're going to be fine. So it's, I say that in large part because I don't think that, and look, against the Chiefs, that could be a much different thing, but should they play the Chiefs and but I think, against the Bills or against the Commanders, the passing situation is less, it doesn't need to be as good or as fine point as if it were against the Chiefs defense, which is very good defense.
Speaking of the Chiefs, it was a typical Chiefs game. It felt like low scoring, close game. Mahomes, he made a couple plays, gets a couple calls, and at the end, the Chiefs defense, slams the door shut. But like how the Bills played conservative as that game went on against the Ravens. Do you chop the same thing up for the Chiefs against the Texans, or is it a case of like, well, they had 28 days off, and of course they're going to be rusty?
I mean, the fact that Travis Kelce had the game that he had, I just feel like, because now you get the rhythm back. Now you get Kelce full swing. You're healthier in the pass catching game overall with Hollywood. Potentially you get McCole Hardman back. The defense is healthier. Potentially you get a Josh Uche in there this time. He wasn't playing this past game, but that feels like their arrow is pointed in a direction that's going to be hard to stop if they keep getting healthier. And then the Bills are sitting here being like, well, are we playing with which defenders are actually playing or which ones aren't? So that's what it felt like to me. Like, it felt like a Mahomes game where we're getting back in the flow. It always feels like there's some sort of ankle injury, and then we're all like, what's going to happen? And then you give them enough snaps together, and be it in the second half of a Super Bowl game or, the first, 3 quarters of a divisional round game, and you're like, oh, well, I've seen this somewhere before.
Yeah. It's the same
I'm
story.
aware of this game.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the same game every single time. And until someone, figures out that equation, it's going to be the same outcome, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia,
it's hard to argue with that.
Cynthia, final one from me. You touched on this. Again, Ben Johnson doesn't play offensive line, and he doesn't fix their offensive line. But in general, what impact could this have? I mean, obviously, he's been calling some elite offense here with Detroit. Like, how do you see the fit, not just in 2025, but over the next, 1 to 3 seasons?
If they give him some rope, I think it's going to be hard for, like, I always caution, like, people need to, you don't typically inherit a team that's in great shape, right? Like, they don't fire their coach if everything's going well. So if he gets a little bit of rope, I think it's going to be great. I think it's great for Caleb Williams to have someone who's so creative. Ben Johnson obviously cut his teeth making the likes of Jared Goff really, really good, rehabbing a Jared Goff that had been kind of, overlooked as a Ram. So, I think that his resume certainly speaks for itself, but it is hard to be the main guy when you want to be the offensive guy. And that's just the thing where, I don't know him personally. I think it's just a hard job. I think it's a hard job without that O-line. I think it's a hard job based on at least the history of how many times I've seen different coaches come and go, different GMs. Like, this is not that feels like a difficult place to go in general. So I wish him the best. I mean, except for when he plays the Lions, but you know what I mean? Like, I do wish him the best as a person. He seems like a very nice person, and I think he'll be great for Caleb Williams, but that other side of the ball is difficult too. So again, being the main guy is not the same as being the one side of the ball guy. And I hope it works out well, but the Bears, I don't know. It seems like there's maybe some things there that need to switch before anyone could succeed there.
Hey, I mean,
it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get paid $65 million, I'll take any position. I don't care. Like, hey, bad offensive line. Sure. Give me 65 mil. I'm good. I'll figure it out later. Finally,
right.
Finally,
I'll play.
exactly. Yeah. Finally, going back to that Eagles-Rams game, should the Eagles be concerned at all how that end of the game finished off with, the Rams being on the doorstep of potentially winning that? Or do you feel like that was more like, soft coverages and Rams took advantage of it? Or is there a little bit of a weakness there with the Eagles defense?
I think that okay, look, it's all things, you have to kind of put all of the things together in this one, right? Like,
right, snowing.
The Rams, Matthew Stafford is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a first ballot Hall of Famer for a reason. This same thing, I mean, Sean McVay is, he's not the youngest coach in the world in the league anymore, but he is, for his age, he's the based on age, like return on how good he is, he's incredible, right? So I think part of it is some epic teams playing epic games. I don't think that this gets easier. I don't think that, if you get the full, like even, Puka, Cooper Kupp, and, Kyron Williams all together with Matthew Stafford dealing, like that is their recipe. And I think it's more just a compliment to the Rams and how great they are and how their front works together and how they improved over the course of the season, more so than it is a knock on, I don't think it's like, should the Eagles be worried? I don't know. I think it gets hard once we get to this part in the season, no matter what. And I think the fact that they didn't lose was a more of a plus.
That's what I was saying. I mean, you get to that spot where they've got what, a 1st and 10 from inside the 20. I mean,
it might have been 1st and goal. No,
was it 1st and goal?
It might have been. I can't remember, but it was close. I mean, they were
what are the odds? What are the odds you're losing that game? Like, you got a really good chance of losing in that spot. Like the analytics would suggest they're probably not going to win that game. In that exact spot. So I think the Eagles deserve credit for getting the stop when they absolutely
Jalen Carter
had to get the stop.
So,
Cynthia, we appreciate it. Let's do it again on Friday. We'll look ahead to the championship weekend on Sunday, but we appreciate you hopping on as always.
Absolutely. I'm glad to do it, and I'll talk to you guys on Friday.
Looking forward to it. Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. All right, call right now if you want a chance to win a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse. This is for San Diego Restaurant Week. We have a gift card to the outstanding Morton's Steakhouse. You need to call right now. First 2 callers will be our contestants. 877-767-4969. 4760. All right, this is for San Diego Restaurant Week, January 26th to February 2nd. Over 100 of San Diego's top restaurants. Really unbelievable options here. San Diego Restaurantweek.com. But we have a gift card to Morton's to give away. Call right now. First two callers will be our contestants. 877-767-4760. We'll do trivia on the other side. The winner is going to Morton's. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
An earlier
Jesse Rogers at ESPN on the state of the Padres and the Dodgers and Roki and what comes next. You'll hear it coming up at 5:30. So we had Jesse Rogers in the 2 o'clock hour. If you missed it, You'll hear it coming up at 5:30. Much more in the Padres in the 5 o'clock hour. We're here until 6. Always are, basically.
I like
making that a big deal.
Yeah, you're like, we're here till 6. Nothing's changed.
Well, no, here's the thing, though, because we used to have
John leaves
3-hour
early
show.
all the time, so
I don't leave early all the time.
That one time you left early.
Yes, I've left
And then
early
the other
before.
time you left early.
Yes.
And
yeah,
then
to go to like my job half the time.
And that other time you left early.
Whatever. That's all I have to say. All right, we have a gift card to give away today to Morton Steakhouse. This is San Diego Restaurant Week.
Oh, baby.
January 26th to February 2nd, over 100 of San Diego's top restaurants, inviting you to indulge in 2-course lunches, 3-course dinners, with prices starting at just $30. A full list of participating restaurants at sandiegorestaurantweek.com. That makes me hungry.
But unfortunately, you don't like eat steak, so
Yeah, but 100 restaurants, dude.
Oh, that's
They're not all
nice.
steakhouses.
No, I know. But
I'm going to go to the website right now.
Morton's?
No, sandiegorestaurantweek.com.
eat soup.
Yeah, they have a soup restaurant on here. Maybe Luna Grill.
Do they have a nice French onion soup?
Yeah, no such thing exists.
Yeah, that's right. Brent doesn't like vegetables.
Dude, look at there's a million restaurants. Like, not a million, but
There's a lot.
100,
There's a lot.
right?
There's a lot of restaurants, yes.
Including Morton's. So we're going to give away a gift card right now for San Diego Restaurant Week. Let's play.
Greetings. Here we go. Time for Team John versus Team Jim.
You want me to play?
3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Mike and Brian. Mike, you called in first. We have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Let's go with John.
All right.
So Mike and John?
Mike and John. Brian, you get Jim. You there, buddy?
Yep, sounds good.
Awesome. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, we talked about the playoffs are going on in the NFL. Today's question, did you know that there are 7 players with 1,000 or more career postseason rushing yards? Today's question, name any of those 7 players with 1,000 or more career postseason rushing yards.
Okay. I like it. Brian, you're up first. What is your first guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Let's go Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith. Pretty good guess. It's got to be on the list, right?
Hold on, my screen went away.
Oh,
yes.
oh, great.
Ding.
Ding on the list.
They won like 100 Super Bowls.
Well, they did.
And he ran the ball
yeah.
those years.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So, ding.
Ding. Ding.
Dang. Okay.
Mike, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Yeah, lifeline, please.
Ooh.
Well, I know the premise of this question because I saw it pop up yesterday. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Do you take that?
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he went over 1,000 yards yesterday.
Yeah. Brian, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll take a lifeline.
Okay. I'm thinking of this player just because I have it stuck in my head in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Terrell Davis. Do you take that?
I'll take it.
Look at you.
Because I'm just thinking about the Super Bowls with okay, and all the postseason appearances. Mike, you're up next. What is your second guess? And you do not have a lifeline, so it's all up to you.
Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen on the list. All right, Brian, back to you. Final guess. You don't have a lifeline, so what do you got?
Let's go. Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch, good sneaky guess.
No. Or not a good sneaky guess.
I kind of
It was
like
a good
that
guess.
It was a good guess. Mike, back to you to walk off here. You don't have a lifeline, so it's all up to you. What do you got?
Franco Harris.
Franco Harris.
Franco Harris.
Wow, for the win, right?
For the win.
Wow, that's a great guess.
Franco Harris, yeah.
It's a very good guess.
All right.
So we missed 2?
Yes, because Brian got one wrong, so we only had 5.
What about Marshall Falk?
No.
Okay.
Okay. What about
What about Ricky Waters?
Nope.
Give me like an era. Like 80s, 90s, 70s.
80s and 90s.
Oh,
Thurman Thomas.
Yes. That's the
And
90s guy.
That's the 90s, and then we need the 80s. 80s tailback. Should be easy.
His son played in the league for a little bit. He wasn't very good, but he played for the Bears.
Oh, I don't know.
1980s.
I don't know.
Football.
His son played for the Bears?
Played in Texas.
Played in
An 80s Cowboy?
Yes.
An 80s Cowboy.
Tony Dorsett?
Yes.
Tony Dorsett.
Oh,
Yes,
there
that's
you go.
great. That's great. We're so smart.
Yay.
All right, congratulations, because Mike, you are going to Morton Steakhouse. You've got a gift card. San Diego Restaurant Week happening January 26th to February 2nd. Over 100 of San Diego's top restaurants. Again, 2-course lunches, 3-course dinners starting at just $30. A full list of participating restaurants at SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. On the other side, back to the Dodgers' very busy weekend and the Padres' very quiet offseason, plus Jesse Rogers from ESPN. If you missed our conversation, you'll hear it coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with baseball news of the day. The 2025 Hall of Fame class announced 3 new members: Ichiro Suzuki, Billy Wagner, and CC Sabathia. Moving over to other baseball news of the day. Dodgers continue to sign everybody. Kirby Yates to a 1-year deal this morning. Tanner Scott to a 4-year deal over the weekend. San Diego FC, they made a big-time move today. They signed San Diego native Luca De La Torre on loan from Celta Vigo for the 2025 season. And NFL news of the day, Kevin O'Connell got a contract extension from the Minnesota Vikings. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
One of the tweets that I saw regarding the Sasaki signing that blew me away came from Buster Olney.
Because Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers, he set the stage for this. Like, wait, what?
Wrong. Try again, dumbass.
It was the dumbest tweet
I hate when people correlate something that has no correlation.
Jackie Robinson has nothing to do with Roki Sasaki's decision.
The reason why he signed with the Dodgers was because of the history with the Dodgers and Jackie Robinson.
And then people were quote tweeting this, Brandon, being like, now I know why he didn't go to the Royals.
Yeah, he didn't go to the Royals.
They didn't have Jackie Robinson.
They didn't have Jackie Robinson.
You got to be one of the dumbest looking apes I ever saw.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour, Jon and Jim. If you missed Jesse Rogers, Jeff Passan's colleague at ESPN, baseball reporter, you'll hear our conversation coming up at 5:30. The Padres' no good, very bad offseason continued this weekend because the Dodgers just keep digging deeper. From Roki, which was like this huge story Friday that played out. By the way, what they did this weekend is probably more impactful. We talked about it earlier. Tanner Scott, the former Padre. Kirby Yates, the former Padre. We already know about Blake Snell, the former Padre. Like, they just continue to spend and acquire and bolster. And the Padres enjoyed a 3-day weekend. I mean, we did too. But, it's time to get this thing going, guys. It's time to get this thing going.
Yeah, and what makes this so frustrating is if the Dodgers were the Yankees, I don't think we would spend that much time on it.
Right.
You know, if the Yankees were doing everything the Dodgers are doing, I don't think it would be something we discuss. Like, why aren't the Padres making any moves? Like, fight back, do something, stand up for yourselves. You know, ever since Game 4 of the NLDS, you have been walked on at every single turn by the Dodgers. You know, not only did you lose a 2-1 lead to them in the postseason, they went on to win the World Series. They're your biggest rival, and they also beat you out on the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. So it's like a double whammy. It's just like you continue to lose to them time and time and time again. So that's why it feels bigger than maybe it really is, because the division right now, out of reach, out of mind, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Now you got to compete for one of those 3 wild card spots. And while you're competing for those 3 wild card spots, are you good enough as constructed to get into those 3 wild card spots? I don't know. I don't know.
I keep going back to this. Like, this was in my head a lot this weekend, that the Padres sold out these season ticket memberships. They have very popular players. They have a beautiful ballpark. That they're a marketing machine. They'll have amazing giveaways. They'll have large crowds. But are they fully invested in winning a World Series? I think they're fully invested in winning. I think they're trying to get to the postseason. And you could then make the argument, if you get to the postseason, then you're in the business of trying to win a World Series. Now, I get that. I've argued that point. But, I watched the Dodgers, and they're not the only team. There's other teams that have invested heavily this offseason. Look at the New York Mets. There's others, right? Yankees, even the Blue Jays today, Anthony Santander. Can the Padres look at us with a straight face, the Sadler Bros, and be like, we're doing everything we can to win a World Series? Because I think if they're being fully honest, the truth serum, I think they would say, we want to win, we want to draw, we have really good players, but we don't truly believe we've got the best roster in the sport, and we're not capable of fielding the best roster in the sport. So we're content with having a top 10 or 15 roster and let the chips fall where they fall.
Another thing that makes it incredibly frustrating is you're not coming off of like an 83-win season.
Right.
You're coming off of a 93-win season. You're coming off of a season where mean, hell, you were the favorites to win the World Series at one point, like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You had such a complete roster, to the point where you ask any Dodgers player, you say that they're going to tell you that the Padres were their biggest threat in the postseason, that they were most scared of the Padres out of any team.
Podcasting about that.
They're like, dude, that series, I couldn't sleep, Max Muncy said.
Right.
So you have to capitalize on that. That's why this offseason has been so frustrating. Not from that the Dodgers are getting every single player, every good single player, right? And they beat you out on Sasaki, but that you aren't doing anything to capitalize on what you had from last year.
Right.
And that's what's the most frustrating part is you have a moment in time where it might not come around for a while again. And yes, the Dodgers are a juggernaut and you can't compete with them money for money. You'll never do that. But you telling me you can't spend a little money? You telling me you can't make a couple trades? Do something. Because if you aren't going to try to capitalize on 93 wins and you go into this season status quo, then you've already failed.
I think they'll do things. I really do. And I think AJ Preller is going to try to pull rabbits out of hats.
Yeah.
But the disparity between the Seidler Bros right now, on paper, we talk about on paper rosters.
Yeah.
On paper ownership groups.
Oh, it's not even close.
The Dodgers' stability.
Yeah.
And they're doubling down on spending and deferrals and landing Roki and using the Seidler Bros against the Padres because it's being reported by The Athletic that the Dodgers harped on the Padres' instability. The lawsuit that's been filed by Shield Seidler might not have been great timing, by the way. I mean, it may not have been great timing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a difference between landing him or
Looking
not.
back
Probably
on
not.
it, now
It's not good timing.
There's never a good timing for that, but it does kind of feel like
you got these dudes we've never seen or met or spoken to the media in the Seidler brothers. You have Shield Seidler fighting for control of the team, which is completely fair and right. That's her right. Then you have this Dodger group that is just printing money and has been fully stable and is landing any player that they want. Like that to me feels like a wide gap.
Very wide gap.
Like the ownership groups. And the difference in ownership groups isn't just the market. Dodgers have had bad ownerships before. Look at the McCourt era.
Yeah.
And the Padres have had really good owners before. Look at the Peter Seidler era here. So it's not just, well, LA's bigger, San Diego's smaller. No. The disparity in ownership groups right now feels very wide.
Yeah. And it's, to be expected. You knew once Peter passed away, things were going to be vastly different around here. This time last year, we were talking about off seasons, compare the off seasons. We were saying the same things. This team came off just one of the most disappointing seasons in baseball history with their payroll and winning barely 82 games. And they've traded away a Hall of Famer for a bunch of, pieces that we don't even know are going to be good. And they've signed Wandy Peralta and Yuki Matsui. Are you kidding me right now? This team is not going to even sniff the postseason. And then to their credit and to AJ Preller's credit, the moves after this point in time last year, all were home runs. All of them. The Donovan Solanos, the David Peraltas, the Arise, the Dylan Cease, the Tanner Scott, Brian Hoeing, Jason Adam, all home runs. And then Michael King was the biggest home run, in December of last year. But yeah, it feels like we were saying the same things last year at this time that we are right now, except actually there's really no except because we did not know they were going to do all the moves they did. So if they can do all those moves or at least do moves that produce what was produced last year, then that's great. But
they can't.
I don't think they can.
Because, by the way, Robbie Snelling and Adam Mazur and Graham Pauley
not here anymore.
Are part of the deal for Tanner Scott. Now you got Brian Hoeing as well, but
they trade.
You can't keep going to that well every year.
Yeah, unless they decide, look, Ethan Salas is hitting 200 in the minors. He's not really showing that his bat can play. Defensively, he's great, but let's do something drastic here to try to win now.
You're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I know.
If you keep doing that, at some point they need to hit on more than just Jackson Merrill. Hitting on Merrill was an amazing accomplishment for 1 year. It was great. They have to make Leo DeVries or Ethan Salas or another combination of players in their system pan out. Otherwise, for every trade for Tanner Scott, you're in win now even more. Like you had Tanner Scott for 2 months and you were positioned for a brief moment in time to maybe win the World Series, but now Tanner Scott's with your biggest rival and you don't have Robbie Snelling, Adam Major, Grant Pauly, which I'm all for going for it. But the more you go for it, the more you're also jeopardizing your future.
But it's what AJ does.
Yes.
He gets a lot of talent in the minors. He builds up that farm system so the rankings show that he's a top 5 system.
Yep.
And then he uses that talent, he trades it away for major league pieces. But the thing is, like, when you do that 1 year, you have to kind of wait a couple years before you can do it again. You can't keep doing it year after year after year. So this might be a year where they have to not make as many moves and not make as many trades because they have to, get as much talent as possible to make sure that in the future they can make these big moves, because if they continue to do it now, then it's going to take even longer to recoup all that talent.
Yeah, like my first order of business and the organization's first order of business should be 2025, right? Like we're on the cusp of it, the precipice. We're weeks away from spring training. I got the email today, truck day. We're putting baseballs in the truck and we're going to Peoria.
Yeah, keep a lookout for that video.
So like our priority is 2025, but like for the Padres to sustain playoff aspirations, that's where I get worried about. Yeah, Ethan Salas hasn't hit, or like you can't keep going to your system and trading players away in the hope of sustaining success long term. I just don't think the Padres can do it. I really don't, because I think with their payroll issues, you have to hit on players like Merrill a lot. And for whatever reason, they haven't, by and large, hit on those players. And they've been an up and down franchise under AJ Preller. There have been some very good years. There have been some very bad years. I think what is separating them from their payroll from sustaining success is they need more players like Jackson Merrill.
Yeah.
They need a couple of these guys.
Yeah, I saw Ben posted this the other day. It was like, still waiting. Remember when did you see this? Schilt was on, I think, Foul Territory. And he's like, "Oh yeah, AJ's got a bunch of moves lined up, ready
up his
to go,
pants and stuff." Yeah.
Well, where are the moves at? Where are the moves at? Now, do I put this all on AJ? No, I don't. I really don't. I have been very critical of AJ in his time here while I've had a microphone, but I am perfectly okay acknowledging, like, last year was a damn near masterpiece by AJ Preller for the resources that he had, and he almost pulled it off.
Down his pants.
There was.
And unfortunately, he didn't. Now, you're asking him to do the exact same thing for the second straight year in a row. That's tough to ask of somebody who is given really no, like, wiggle room and no money to spend, and you're asking him to do a lot. So when this season starts, and if they haven't made any moves, and if they don't re-sign Profar, and it's a bunch of, Tirso Ornelas is out in left field or whatever, like, and whoever is at short, and am I going to put the blame on AJ for not having this team, I guess, upgraded from last year? It's hard because of the situation that he's in with the Seidler Bros.
I just want, like, is it desperate times? Like, if you're the front office, like, you got to go big here and be like, you know what, we got to free up money. Jay Cronenworth, if there's a suitor here.
I just got married though, bro.
I know. Baseball.
It's baseball, right?
Robert Suarez, if there's a suitor here, like, do you got to get serious right now and consider all options? Because it seems like if you don't, like, what's the alternative? Status quo.
I predicted, and I'm still waiting. It could happen though, that after Sasaki picked the team, that you're going to see a domino of moves, because you at some point have to, like, be like, okay, we have to act now.
You have seen a domino. Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates.
No, with the Padres.
That's the problem.
I know.
That's the problem.
I know.
All right. Much more on this on the other side. Plus Jesse Rogers from ESPN at 5:30. Jim's back page is still ahead. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
sure if you heard it or not, but iHeartRadio has a brand new app for 2025. So make sure to open up the App Store and download it. The #1 app for audio in the world has gotten better. Presets and more. Put Jon and Jim and San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. The #1 audio app is available to you now, upgraded in the App Store.
Except for your phone.
Except for me, for some reason, it's not available to me.
Yeah, when you have the iHeartRadio app and you upgrade it and you have the presets, the only thing we ask you is to put us in your presets.
You have to do that.
You put San Diego Sports 760 in there, put Jon and Jim's podcast in there, and that's it. And then you're set to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we ask. So
do I have access to it? Not yet.
Dude.
Soon.
I mean, everybody has it except for you.
Everyone has it except for me.
And you freaking work here.
It's true.
You're an iHeart employee. You don't have it.
True.
Maybe you should reach out and be like, hey, guys, what's going on?
Maybe soon. All right. So if you missed Jesse Rogers, we'll have that for you coming up at 5:30. Really good baseball reporter at ESPN. His thoughts on, is the Dodgers spending good for baseball? It's the same old conversation. I recognize the hypocrisy, truthfully, because I was all for the Padres spending. I'm like, man, ain't our money. Everything's great. Who cares about the future? The problem is, like, now we're in the future.
Who cares?
It's like, okay, if you max out a credit card, like in real time, you're like, whatever. Like, okay, so I don't have the money to pay for it, but my limit's up to $30K. Yeah, I'm going to pay the minimum. But like in real time, you got the TV and you got the vacation.
Well, also, too, during the spending of the Padres with Xander and Manny and giving contract extensions to Jake and then Tatis and Joe and Darvish, not at any point during that time did any of us think, oh, in 2 years or a year, Peter Seidler is going to pass away. Not 1 second did we put that to thought.
True, but Eric Grupner was coming on with Darren and saying, well, we haven't really tested the sustainability of this model. We're hopeful that this can work long term. Like they didn't know what the other side looked like.
Okay, but also respectfully, Peter Grupner is not
Peter Grupner?
Or sorry, Eric Grupner is not Peter Seidler. Not even close. And
I get it.
The buck stopped with Peter. And if Peter wanted to do something, he was going to do it. If it meant spending a little more money. I know Eric was and is so concerned about the finances on the side, but you know what? Peter cared more about the fans than finances. And the only time that we thought this was going to be an issue was, when Peter passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to believe the widow of Peter Seidler saying that it was a complete shock to everybody that he passed away, and not go with the narrative that was put out there that Peter knew he was going to, have this happen, and that's why he spent all this money. No. I'm going to take the side of Sheil on that one and go with that. It was a shock to everybody. So because nobody knew that, in hindsight, everyone's going to rip on the Padres and be like, you guys spent all this money and look what happened to you. Well, okay, Peter's not here. And if Peter were here, things would be totally different.
Okay. No, I get that point. I do. I guess I'm just saying that if Peter was still here and the Padres were spending like crazy,
I don't think they would be, but they would.
Would we be saying, hey, the Dodgers are spending like crazy, stop spending like crazy?
No, because I think we and Padres fans would say Peter is going to do something. I guarantee you they would not be going to arbitration with Michael King. Guarantee you that they probably would have locked him up.
I guarantee you Jerks and Profar would be back.
And Profar would be back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are a couple of easy.
Oh, and you don't think that they would have started contract extensions with Jackson Merrill? Because they absolutely would have.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the point. At some point, doesn't this add up to a net negative? At some point, there's no Merrill talk on extension. There's no King talk on extension. You let your starting catcher walk. You let left fielder walk potentially in Profar. You're going to arbitration with Michael King. You can't just be like, well, we'll just run it back. Everything's fine. Is everything fine? It's one thing if one domino falls, but it feels like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things haven't gone their way this offseason. Can you have all that work against you and still, well, Mike Shilt's a good manager and he can get this team pointed in the right direction and Manny Machado falls out of bed with 30 home runs and it's just going to all work?
It's not hopeless.
No, I agree.
I know at times people listening might think that it sounds hopeless, but it is not at this moment in time. I feel like it's hopeless because, they're going to get on the field. They're going to win baseball games.
Right. They're not going to go winless.
They're not going to go 0-162.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Every team loses 60 and every team wins 60, except for
We'll see about that.
unless you're the Chicago White Sox. But
or the Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers probably won't lose 60. But yeah, you're right. But I mean, you still have some really good pieces here. You know, if you look at their bullpen, back end, Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, and Jeremiah Estrada, all really good.
Mhm.
Rotation, like I said, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, really good. Top of your lineup, Luis Ariz, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, and Manny Machado, really good. Like, I just named off, 9, 10, 11 players there that, like, I mean, teams would die to have that core.
Mm-hmm.
And the Padres have that. Problem is, building out the rest of the roster, that's where this team could run into some major problems.
We've reached the time of the offseason where we've gotten the text from the 619 saying, what about Trevor Bauer? All right. On the other side, that's all. I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
On the other side, Jesse Rogers, ESPN. If you missed our conversation from the 2 p.m. hour, his thoughts on the state of baseball with the Dodgers spending like this. What was the difference in LA landing Roki over other teams, including San Diego? Really good conversation with Jesse Rogers from ESPN. You'll hear it next on Jon and Jim.
Hi.
This update is brought to you by Lowe's. 3 new members of the Hall of Fame, the 2025 class announced earlier this afternoon. Ichiro Suzuki made it in on a 99.7% ballots. One person did not vote for Ichiro. That person is a absolute moron. CC Sabathia is in, as well as Billy Wagner. Moving over to the Aztecs tomorrow night. They take on Air Force in Colorado Springs. 7 p.m. tip time. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Moving over to NFL. Kevin O'Connell got a contract extension today from the Minnesota Vikings. San Diego FC, they signed San Diego native Luca De La Torre on loan from Celta Vigo for the 2025 season. And Padres moves, oh yeah, there are none. Dodgers, they continue to make a bunch of moves. They signed Kirby Yates today to a 1-year deal. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, so we had Jesse Rogers from ESPN on earlier, colleague of Jeff Passan's, to talk about what has been a really busy weekend around baseball, but not necessarily for the Padres. So we started this conversation about it's Roki, and then it's Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates and the Dodgers spending. Is it getting out of control? Is it good or bad for baseball? This is Jesse Rogers from ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I don't think it's great for the sport that so much talent is concentrated in one place or several places. If you include the Yankees and maybe the Mets, like, it's probably not great, but I don't blame the Dodgers. They're playing under the rules, right? They're doing what is allowed under these rules. I think that a couple things are in play. I think they made a ton of money over the last year or so, and certainly the last few years between their TV deal. Shohei Ohtani is paying for himself and then some. So I think they're spending the money they're making. And who knows? We might be reaching a tipping point in terms of the economic system of the sport. So maybe they're loading up knowing that after 2026, there's going to be a new system in place. Who knows? Salary cap, not salary cap. It could look different. It could look similar. But what do they care? They're loading up and they're ready to be good for the next 3 years. So, I mean, I don't think it's great that a couple, 3 teams, are the ones going after all the stars every year. It's probably not great. I mean, that's just common sense. I don't blame anybody but the system itself. And that, comes down to the owners and the players, to be honest. It's their job to collectively bargain a system that provides some parity and things like that. And 86-win teams can get to the World Series, but the Dodgers are guaranteeing themselves a playoff berth over and over and over again. And again, I don't see a problem with that, but the problem could be within the system.
A couple of years ago, it wasn't too long ago that, the Padres were 3rd in payroll in all of baseball. Peter Seidler was a guy that wanted to invest a lot of his money in the on-field product. And in turn, it made a lot of small market owners upset. One in particular, Dick Monfort of the Colorado Rockies, calling out Peter Seidler, saying, it's not sustainable. And then you see a lot of pundits out there and national media saying it's not sustainable. Why aren't these small market owners upset about what the Dodgers are doing? And in turn, why aren't people, I guess, putting the pressure on those small markets to be like, hey, why aren't you spending money? Why aren't you going out and spending your money when the Dodgers are doing exactly what they should be doing?
So I think it comes down to what you believe in terms of the economics of the sport. The Padres, I think it's kind of commonly known. They're a good example that I think we would all agree were operating at a loss in those moments under Peter Seidler, in those years, I guess you can say. And they're feeling the effects now. I think they're looking to dump some more salary. I think they didn't bring back Martin Perez because he was $5 million. So I mean, if you're willing to operate at a loss, okay, but I could see how the other small market owners would be upset because they're making them look bad because they don't want to operate at a loss. The Dodgers are operating with their profits, and I don't think anybody can come down on them for that. So I think if you really want to peel back everything that's going on here, that's the difference. The Padres were operating at a loss. The Dodgers are operating and using their profits back in their team. And so the small market owners, I think would say, if we make a lot of money, we'll put it back on our team and we'll spend some, but we're not. Now, again, that's all up to all of us to believe or not believe because the books aren't open. But if you saw some of the comments out of Chicago where I'm based, the owner of the Cubs, a big market team, said, hey, we're looking to break even. And everybody went nuts because they didn't believe that that's all they do year to year. So that's the difference. Small market teams don't want to operate at a loss while a team like the Dodgers doesn't have to.
Jesse Rogers, ESPN, with us right now on Jon and Jim. So switching gears to Roki Sasaki, which clearly wasn't solely about money for the player because he could only get so much in this posting process. But then again, the sustainability of an organization or the direction of an organization, I'm sure, was critically important to the player. What do you think was the difference here? Why LA above the other potential suitors in your mind?
In my mind, it was almost fait accompli. The momentum of that team, Shohei, Yamamoto. I mean, the one thing was Darvish was a big selling point, certainly for San Diego. But I can't know until we hear from the kid, right? The things that his agent said applied to a bunch of teams. I do think year in and year out, there's really, until further notice, only a handful of teams, including the Padres, that Japanese players are going to want to go to. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes to make them comfortable, the best version of themselves. And there's 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 teams that really understand and know how to do it. They recruit over there. They've already had a history of Japanese players, and the Dodgers are among them. So I can't tell you his personal motivation. We don't know that. He hasn't done an interview yet. But I think that we're just going to hear that it's the Dodgers. It's all the things you'd expect. And, why maybe he turned away from Yu Darvish, one of his heroes. Again, we have to hear from him. But I think I'll tell you, someone within the sport that was after him, that's one of these teams I'm talking about, one of these half dozen teams. I'm not going to tell you the team, said to me, if the Dodgers want you, why wouldn't you want them? Right. Does that answer it? Yeah. Does that answer it for you?
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. They are in the position right now where it's like a destination. Hey, you want to win and get paid and be in Southern California? Like, we are the destination for you. And we've just seen that with Tanner Scott, and Kirby Yates today. Jesse, a part of the recruitment process for Roki Sasaki that has come up recently has been about the ownership issues with the Padres. And I don't know if that played any role in this, but it's been reported the Dodgers were like, hey, look, we're stable here. Padres, they're really not stable because of the lawsuit between, the Seidler brothers and Shields Seidler. Have you heard anything around baseball as far as like what is going to happen with this and how much of an effect it could have on the Padres going forward in making moves and signings and free agency?
Yeah, I really haven't. I think that there's the business side and then there's the baseball side. And certainly the Padres have done a good job on the baseball side. Yeah, they're not spending like they did when Peter was around, but they have a good baseball ops operation, and department, I guess I should say, good baseball ops department. So I haven't heard that impacting it, but it is kind of early in that turmoil there. If it explodes in some way, maybe. I'm going to guess it didn't have an impact on Sasaki. It's like, you heard behind, under the surface that Sasaki was most likely to go to the Dodgers for almost a year now, which is why I think the agent was so adamant about this process being public in a way. Like, most agents don't hold press conferences. Joe Wolf held a couple of them. He wanted to make it clear that it was on the up and up, whether it was or not. I assume that it was. And every team had a chance. Could be wrong, but I think it's what I said. If the Dodgers want you, why wouldn't you want them? And of course, he had to hear the right things. I mean, most pitchers that come over want to hear about how are you going to make me better and keep me healthy and things. I know the Dodgers have had some history of injuries. They've also had a history of making Dodger pitchers really good. Michael Kopech comes over there and he's lights out. So. I think it was down to a handful of teams. And again, why wouldn't you pick the Dodgers? So I don't think there's anything negative going on with the Padres publicly, but obviously events could change that.
Jesse Rogers, ESPN, with us. I mean, it wasn't long ago, Jesse, the Padres led the Dodgers 2-1. I think for a brief moment in time, they were probably the favorite to win the World Series for that one day, leading that series at home.
It was a fun day.
Game 4. It was a very fun day.
I remember that
leading
day
up to the
very
game.
well.
Then they were blown out in Game 4, and then they didn't score in Game 5. Of course, they didn't score in 24 consecutive innings. Like, I guess my point is this. We get so enamored with an offseason. Padres have had good off seasons and then bad teams. Yeah. And then the Dodgers last offseason, Ohtani, Yamamoto, their regular season was 98 wins. They trailed the Padres, of course, in that series again, 2-1. I guess my question is this. Even with the Padres having a quiet offseason, do you still see them as a viable contender in the National League?
Well, I do, except that it does seem like they're tightening their purse strings. And so that, of course, could be a concern. Now, AJ Preller is a wheeler and dealer. And, most owners, when it comes to the deadline, provide some wiggle room. If their management comes to them and says, look, we have a chance at winning it all here. So, they might be tightening the purse strings now. Doesn't mean they have to in July. But I think, you have to worry that they were adding, and now they're starting to subtract a little bit more. And let's see if Dylan Cease or, Robert Suarez has to be moved before opening day, but AJ's pretty good at this kind of stuff. And I still see them as a contender. Look what they did last July, for example, right? So it's going to be a little bit tougher of a road than it was under Peter, who was just spending.
Jesse, final one for me. What have you heard about the market for Jurickson Profar?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that's a great example of the Padres, right? And whether they would have the money or not. It's going to get moving. I just don't know which team's going to jump because there are some teams tightening the purse strings. Like, the Blue Jays just spent some money, but he's going to have a market. I just don't know what, sort of dollars and contracts he's looking at. But that's a great example of a guy that, should be on the Padres, but may not be because of the cost.
No doubt. Jesse, we appreciate it. We're excited for the start of spring training just a couple of weeks away. We appreciate you joining us in San Diego, and we hope to do it again soon. So thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
You got it, guys. Be well.
All right, great stuff. Jesse Rogers, ESPN. On the state of really baseball, the Padres and the Dodgers will have a lot more on it, of course, tomorrow beginning at 2 p.m. On the other side, Jim's back page here until 6. Don't go anywhere.
Kick off the new year at OG's. They've got something that will satisfy all your taste buds. Cheers to a new year.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
We have a new crash in Vista, eastbound 78, just before Mar Vista. That one now over on the right shoulder. Traffic's going to be slow from El Camino Real out to the scene. And southbound 15 is going to be heavy from the 163 split on and off down to Highway 94. I'm Darren Edwards with a look at San Diego traffic.
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
Oh no, my water bill is double last month's.
Experiencing an unusual rise in your water bill? You may have an underground leak. CPL Detection has been helping homeowners and businesses locate underground utilities and water leaks for more than 40 years. They have the expertise and high-tech equipment to handle any job. CPL Detection will locate your underground utilities or water leaks the first time. Before you dig, call CPL. They'll help you avoid costly or dangerous mistakes. Call 1-800-450-LEAK or visit cpldetection.com.
If the wildfires have impacted you or your family, you have urgent questions. We have vital information. We're Justice HQ, not a law firm, but a community of approved lawyers who are volunteering our time to help fire victims during this tragic time. We'll assess your situation, discuss your needs, and explain your rights, free of charge. Go to justicehq.com/firehelp and simply fill out the form. One of our lawyers will reach out as soon as possible, free of charge. That's justicehq.com/firehelp.
Experience better banking. Open a free checking with e-statements account in just minutes at sdccu.com and bank on the go. Check balances, deposit checks, pay bills, and more just about anywhere through your smartphone 24/7. And if you need cash, access one of their 30,000 surcharge-free ATMs. San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking. It's better. Message and data rates may apply. Federally insured by NCUA. For details, visit sdccu.com. sdccu.com.
Hey, it's Bobby Bones. Join me and former NFL quarterback Matt Castle for our new podcast, Lots to Say with Bobby Bones and Matt Castle. Between us, we have over 17,500 passing yards, multiple New York Times bestsellers, and 1 Mirrorball trophy from Dancing with the Stars. So where else you can find a show with that much athleticism and football insight? Listen to Lots to Say with Bobby Bones and Matt Castle on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart.
Open your free iHeart app and search Lots to Say with Bobby Bones and Matt Castle and start listening.
Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again. Because more people are listening to the radio on iHeart today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeart Broadcast Radio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, social, any other media, even twice as many teens than TikTok. Think radio can help your business? Think iHeart. Streaming, podcasting, and radio. Let us show you at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
I can live my dreams.
I can rewrite my story.
I can create a future I look forward to.
When you enroll at a California community college, you open the door to unlimited possibilities. Whether you want to transfer to a 4-year university or earn an associate degree, financial aid and hundreds of career programs are here to help make it all happen.
I can do this.
It's time to take control of your future. Classes can fill up quickly, so enroll today at icangotocollege.com.
It's the Flex Zone.
I have a problem with you.
You have a problem with me?
I have a problem with you.
Okay.
You
Go
and
ahead.
Schaefer list every player on the Aztecs, and at one point during the pregame show go, they're going to have a big game.
Talking Aztecs basketball.
Then whoever does have a big game, you come on here and go, I told you. BJ Davis.
I don't think that's true.
I think it is true.
Okay. Well, you and John can have your little flirt session after Aztecs games. I get that. That's fine.
Weekdays at noon after college. San Diego Sports. 760. America's finest sports station.
All right, Will Brinson, CBS Sports NFL writer, will join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll have Cynthia Freeland again before championship weekend on Friday. Here again tomorrow.
Yep.
2 to 6.
Yep. Aaron is very nervous about this weekend.
For what?
Why?
Doing something?
Yeah, we're watching the football game.
Okay. What's she nervous for?
That the Eagles are going to lose to the Commanders.
Tuesday.
What do you mean Tuesday?
It's Tuesday. Relax. We have 5 days. Don't get nervous now.
Bro, the second the Niners game ended last year,
man.
I was nervous. I'm nervous the second
Tell her the Eagles won the Super Bowl 4 years ago. What's the worst thing that happens? They don't win it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
haven't even seen the Niners win the Super Bowl.
I know.
And she has seen the Eagles.
I know.
And she was excited. You were with her.
When?
Yes, when they won the Super Bowl, I think.
No.
Weren't you in, or they lost when you guys went to Arizona to like watch the Super Bowl party?
Oh, yeah, I was.
Did they lose?
They lost,
Oh, that was
yeah.
in Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They'd won before that.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
horrible
That's right.
penalty to end that game that cost.
Oh, the penalty kick was killer.
You don't remember
What
that.
happened?
End of the game, they called a penalty on, I think, was it Darius Slay? I don't remember. It was a corner for the Eagles.
That was an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And it
Complete
basically
joke.
ended the game.
Yeah, thanks, refs.
Yeah. So
Or my first time fixing a game.
Like
I
that.
mean, the Eagles are the line's only gone up. Open at 4.5.
It's at
up to 6.
Yeah. But that makes it even more stressful because you're such a big favorite that if it's a close game, then you start puckering up and
Dude, if it happens again like last week with Jaden Daniels,
I know.
and he's driving down 6.
and Aaron, she hates the Cowboys, but I think just hearing her talk, she might equally hate the Commanders.
Nobody's ever said that.
Well, I know Cowboys are
Yeah.
number one, but for some reason she just really hates Washington
More than the Giants?
more than the Giants. For her list goes Cowboys,
Commanders,
Giants.
Man, and the Commanders are doing something right as an organization if she hates them more than the Giants.
Well, one of her friends is a Commanders fan, and all she does is talk crap, and she hates that, and so she just wants the Commanders to lose to shut her up.
Real quick before we get to Backpage.
Yeah.
Is Commanders among the worst names?
Worst name
easily.
Is Wizards worse?
No.
I kind of think Wizards.
I like Bullets better.
I
than
don't.
Wizards.
too.
But Commanders going from the Redskins to the Commanders,
Is
awful.
bad.
Jerseys, awful. Logo, awful.
If you had to pick one, John, would you rather be a wizard or a commander?
A wizard. No
Exactly.
doubt about it. Wizards are cool.
Their
Commanders are
logo though, dude.
dude.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mythical things. Would you rather be a wizard or just a commander?
Well, I'd rather be a wizard, but that's like saying like a cat isn't a good like nickname or like bulldogs.
It's not.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah,
not good.
that's why you're the Cougars or something.
Yeah.
You're not just the Cats.
I'd rather the Washington Cougars.
I'd rather the Washington football team. Like they.
I want that's the only thing that'd be worse. That's lazy.
It's lazy, but it's like, yeah, we're the football team.
Did you know that Washington has not been to a championship game since 1991?
Yeah,
I know. We are on the brink.
Mark Rypien.
Yeah,
Ripon.
we're on the brink of a
I don't remember that guy.
Super Bowl
Ripon.
rematch between the Bills and the Washington football team.
Somehow Washington won.
I know.
All right, let's get to it.
It's time for Jim's Back Page.
I gotta blame the fans and the media. And after that, it's the lineman's fault, it's the coach's fault, the owner's fault, the turf, referees.
Today's stories that you might have missed.
Do you think if it is Commanders and Bills Super Bowl that Jaden Daniels would get the "How long have you been a black quarterback?" question?
Wait, what?
Remember that?
No, not fully. What happened?
Brent.
How long have you been a
No, Brent, quarterback for the Washington Redskins.
Doug Williams?
Doug Williams.
You
You don't remember the
Yeah, I do, but that was like 1987.
well, the infamous question of "How long have you been a black quarterback?"
That's how it was asked.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
Not really.
It was like, wait, what?
At the time, he was like one of two
Yeah.
or three black quarterbacks. So
Okay.
It was a joke that didn't hit with you.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It didn't work with you.
It didn't
no,
work.
It did not at all.
What do you got?
So a couple weeks ago, AJ Brown on the sideline was seen reading a book called Inner Excellence.
That thing's taken off
by Jim Murphy. Right now, it is at the top of the Amazon book list at number 1. And this book was written 5 years ago, and now it's the number 1 book on Amazon.
So you can't buy that publicity.
No, you can't. And people that held the the flag for the national anthem were carrying that book on the field for the Eagles game.
Is that right?
This past weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. So Inner Excellence is definitely it's popular right now.
Get it for Aaron. Calm her down over the next 5 days.
I love guys that what's his name? I forget what's his name, but he was on FS1 and he was basically criticizing AJ Brown for reading this book on the sideline.
Nick
I'm like,
Wright?
Probably.
Doug Gottlieb?
Probably. Anyway, like stop. Stupid.
Colin?
Probably. So Ohio State won the national championship last night.
What?
Yeah, they won the national
Okay.
title. And this is interesting. So you would think because of NIL, because that team's worth $20 million, that you would see a lot of like national championship game memorabilia signed by players from the national championship team.
Okay.
Well, they're only selling footballs and helmets signed by Ryan Day. That's it.
Okay.
So right now, you can't get anything signed by any of the players. The only NIL item available for fans to purchase is items signed by the coach.
Is there a reason?
I don't see a reason right now, but it's interesting how that's the only thing. Maybe it will change, but like that's kind of ironic, right?
Did you also see that there were people pushing for like a Ryan apologize day?
Oh my
because
gosh.
Ryan, they like apologized to him because everyone tried to like kick him out of town 4 weeks ago. So have a Ryan apologize day.
why does this surprise you? These are the same soft people that had to come up with a law that says you can't put flags on the 50-yard line because it hurt our feelings.
True. And finally, the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 rookie patch card
I saw this.
has been pulled by an 11-year-old collector in LA. Here is what the Pirates are offering for that card.
A baseball bat.
Season tickets behind home
32-ounce
plate
soda.
for 30 years.
Okay. That's like free.
Softball game for 30 people at PNC Park. 2 Paul Skeens autographed jerseys and a meet and greet with Skeens. If I'm the kid, I'm saying hell
no. Nobody wants 30 years of Pirates tickets.
No.
If you had the last 30 years of Pirates tickets, you'd be wasting your life.
I don't want 3 games at all.
No, we're holding out for way more than that. That's like when Ohtani's 50-50 ball. Like, hey, do you want a t-shirt? No.
Plus, this kid's from LA. I mean, you can just wait 5 years and he'll become a Dodger
So true.
in 5 years.
But It is a fair point. What if Skeens isn't Skeens? Because there's been a lot of good pitchers for a year.
Bro, if this kid is from LA, the likelihood of him caring at all about the Pirates is very slim.
I know, but are you trying to move this for cash is my point.
I'm moving it for cash.
Right now, though? Or are you going to wait?
What's he going to do with 30 years of Pirates tickets living in LA?
What are you getting at StubHub for every ticket? $10?
He's 11 years old.
Right.
11. I like how they said 11-year-old collector. Like,
Yeah,
no,
like how long have you been collecting?
This kid's 11 years old. He probably has a million baseball cards, just loves it, and then pulled the Paul Skeens card.
Man.
Hold out. Don't give it to the Pirates. Sell that thing. Yeah, keep it.
Yeah, you can have a picnic at PNC Park. Nobody wants your picnic, man. Give us cash.
Give me cash. Cold hard cash, man.
All right, if you missed anything today, go to sportsst.com or the iHeartRadio app or iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Spotify. We're on YouTube as well. You can find us on social media at Jon and Jim. JONANDJIM. Back tomorrow at 2 p.m. What do you got, Brian?
Lakers Wizards tonight at 7 o'clock.
Oh, must be nice.
Lakers Wiz. Those iconic franchises coming up at 7 for Brent and Jim.
You're
on
half
Jon.
right.
Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.